Chapter 2169. The courageous had no fear and charged forward courageously. The overcautious should not enter this bridge. Earlier, the disciples of the various large sects tried to leap up and reach the floating bridge 300 meters away. Without exception, they all died in the bottomless, absolute darkness of the 10,000 demon abyss. They probably all died. After that, no one dared to try again. They were all like Shao Chun, thinking hard about how to step onto the floating bridge 300 meters away. Unfortunately, they thought too much and ended up sinking into it. The more overcautious and cautious they were, the more they could not see through the principles behind it. The Great Tao was the simplest. After understanding it, it was just courage. Perhaps some people thought of it, or perhaps some people thought that they understood it. The principles behind it were all courage. However, they did not dare to step forward, not daring to take that step that might cause them to fall. Hence, they only thought about it and did not see through it. No matter how many thoughts there were, if one was not confident and did not put them into practice, it would be useless. Only Shao Chun was smart enough and confident enough. Why is it that the other outstanding talents have already stepped onto the floating bridge, but I have not? I, Shao Chun, have fought along the way. In this faux god world, have I ever suffered a loss against any outstanding talents? Since that is the case, it is not that I, Shao Chun, am stupid or that I, Shao Chun, do not have sufficient comprehension ability. No one was stupid, especially the outstanding talents that could come to the faux god world. What they truly lacked was not comprehension ability, but confidence. Coincidentally, pride and ambition were rooted in Shao Chun's bones from the moment he stepped onto the martial Tao. They flowed in the depths of his blood, growing endlessly. Shao Chun had never lacked confidence. With every step he took, a piece of ancient would appear out of thin air. Not long after, he had officially stepped onto the floating bridge that was 1,000 feet away. Whoosh! The instant Shao Chun's feet landed, he felt as light as a feather. A hot-bloodedness to advance courageously burned in his body. The floating bridge under his feet was like wind, allowing him to move forward boldly. Whoosh! 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 The bedsheet fluttered like a cloak. Who dared to laugh at him? No one dared to. They only felt that this person had an indescribable pride and confidence. Even though his entire body was covered in bandages, it could not hide his sharpness. Damn it! I thought about it long ago. This floating bridge might be a test of courage. That's right. Actually, it is rather simple. You can't fly over, you can't use tricks, and you can't force your way over. This is clearly telling everyone that you can't be timid. Many people felt regret when they saw Shao Chun moving like the wind. It looked like he was about to catch up to the other outstanding talents. However, what was the point of regret? This kind of regret only meant that they still hadn't seen through it. Overcautious and indecisive, they shouldn't step onto this bridge. Shao Chun was already flying on the floating bridge, but the group of people behind him still stood at the edge of the cliff, hesitating. If we fall, we'll lose our lives. If we step on air, our lives will be over. Do we really want to gamble? Damn it! What if I am not as brave as Shao Chun? Shao Chun. Shao God. Shao Chun Dragon Chun. But after seeing Shao and he's seeing Shao, he within. In the end, a miserable cry rang out. Gumu did not appear out of nowhere. Instead, he fell into the 10,000 demon abyss. This frightened the others into retreating quickly, their faces pale. If one is timid, one will not be able to cross this bridge. Only by being like Shao Chun, having a fearless heart, can one truly cross it. This group of people showed conflicted and unsightly expressions. Even though they understood the principle, not many dared to cross. Not to mention this group of people, Shao Chun walked on the floating bridge with a relaxed expression and light footsteps. The floating bridge meandered upward. It looked flat, but in reality, it climbed all the way to the primal chaos heavenly bridge. This was a heavenly bridge, a bridge that led to the heaven-bridging peak. In the scene outside the trial tower, the group of faux gods saw Shao Chun arrive, first despite moving later. Unexpectedly, he silently took the lead. Even Yuan Jun, who comprehended the primal chaos heavenly bridge first, was surpassed by Shao Chun. This could be seen clearly in the scene. Shao Chun had already taken taking the lead and charging into the sky. Damn, this kid actually got first place. Gu Fei was in disbelief. He read it again before cursing. F asterisk asterisk K, it's really first place. However, this is only the first step. The Tontian Peak is not that easy to climb. This brat has offended so many people. I don't believe he can hold on. Lord Mu, it's really as you expected. The Heavenly Alliance elder said excitedly. Mu Zifeng said indifferently. There's no rush. It is as that lunatic Gu said. This is just the beginning. Finally, other people in the 10,000 demons abyss gathered their courage and stepped onto the floating bridges. However, with this delay, these people would definitely not be as fast as Shao Chun and the group of false Emperor Outstanding Talents. Actually, from this, it could already be seen that the false Emperor Outstanding Talents were indeed superior to the others. Those who could be called heavenly geniuses in the faux god realm were not weak. At this moment, Shao Chun felt a little strange. The floating bridge gradually rose into the sky. He felt like he could touch the sticky, primal chaos sky just by stretching out his hand. However, it also felt extremely distant, right before his eyes, but untouchable. While it was strange, Shao Chun still continued forward until he reached the end of the bridge. A seven-colored whirlpool with overwhelming spiritual energy appeared at the end of the floating bridge. Without hesitation, Shao Chun strode forward and entered the whirlpool. Others could not see the whirlpool. They only felt that Shao Chun had reached the end of the floating bridge. Then, his figure entered the sky, never to be seen again. This is the scene before Shao Chun's eyes suddenly changed. The sky was gray, and the world around him was dark. A cold wind howled in this world. Corpses were buried in the desolate land. Dilapidated ships, half buried in the ground, and blood-stained war banners stretched as far as the eye could see. Broken skeletons were everywhere. Every skeleton gave off a startling aura, expressing boundless dissatisfaction. As the cold wind blew, the dissatisfaction, rage, and hatred all turned into roars. As the cold wind howled in the desolate land, it felt like they had existed for millions of years. Shao Chun turned solemn, showing a grave expression. Where did these skeletons come from? Why did the heaven-bridging peak give off overwhelming resentment and evil winds? A mountain peak stood not far away in front of Shao Chun. The mountain peak towered into the clouds. However, it seemed like another world was in the sea of clouds. The heaven-bridging peak. Needless to say, this was the heaven-bridging peak. A familiar yet unfamiliar feeling assaulted Shao Chun. Shao Chun's heart skipped a beat. He immediately found it strange. It is normal for it to be unfamiliar. Why do I find it familiar? Just as Shao Chun was feeling confused, deep in thought, a dazzling Buddhist light burst forth from the dark world. A dazzling Buddhist light burst out of the dark world. The solemn and dignified Yuan Zhen, who had a benevolent expression on his face, quickly followed, appearing in this God-conferred world. Shao Chun, your attire is rather eye-catching. Although the people of my Buddhist sect do not care about the gazes of the secular world, there's no one as bold as you, Yuan Zhen said with a smile as he looked at Shao Chun. Shao Chun asked, You recognize me? That is natural. Others do not recognize you and cannot guess your identity. However, the Buddhist nature in your body cannot be hidden. No matter how much you change, you cannot escape my pair of wise eyes of the Buddhist sect. Yuan Zhen smiled faintly, appearing calm. Then, he casually looked at the surrounding skeletons. The smile on Yuan Zhen's face slowly faded as he sighed softly. The path to becoming a god is very bumpy. These countless skeletons are the faux god powerhouses who died on the god-conferring platform since the heaven-bridging peak was established. The god-conferring platform? That's right. The god-conferring platform is at the top of this heaven-bridging peak. In the past, before the heavenly realm shattered and the heaven-bridging peak broke, all the faux gods of the world had to go there. After going to the God-conferring platform and undergoing the divine tribulation, one could return to the true state and become an eternal true God. Unfortunately, this path is not easy to tread. Who knows how many skeletons have been buried and how many heroes have died in the past 1,000,000 years. In the past, this heaven-bridging peak was even more difficult to tread than it is now. There are 3 calamities and 9 tribulations, 3 minor calamities, 3 major calamities, 9 minor tribulations, and 9 major tribulations. Not a single one is missing. Xiao Chan said after some thought, "You really know a lot. After speaking so much nonsense, do you not intend to ascend the God-conferring platform?" Yuan Jun pressed his palms together, and a solemn look flashed in his eyes. Then he said seriously, "There's no need. The heaven-bridging peak no longer has a divine nature, and the God-conferring platform is already broken. How can it truly become a god? It will just increase my cultivation a little and give me some comprehension. Before I came here, I already discovered that the skeletons here are all heroic spirits. Buddha is merciful. Although this little monk is weak, no matter how many I receive, it is all merit. You can go and climb this peak. We both have our own karma." Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. Looking at Yuan Jun's solemn expression and his merciful appearance, others might really be fooled. However, Xiao Chan was familiar with Yuan Jun's character. He retorted in disdain, "Speak properly. Stop pretending." Yuan Jun felt somewhat embarrassed. He coughed a few times and said, "There must be a senior of my Buddhist sect among these countless skeletons. If I can find an ancient Sarira, it will be much more beneficial than climbing the God-conferring platform." Xiao Chan did not believe the words of this monk, not even a single punctuation. Since Yuan Jun was willing to remain at the foot of the mountain, there was no need to care. Xiao Chan still wanted to climb the heaven-bridging peak and climb the God-conferring platform. Xiao Chan wanted to gamble on an opportunity on the God-conferring platform, an opportunity that Liu Benwei mentioned to him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just at this moment, Mu Yinzhu, Chu Feng, Gu Yuhan, and the other false emperor outstanding talents arrived one after another. These people glanced at Xiao Chan, and a murderous intent flashed in their eyes. However, no one said anything to him. After they appeared, they immediately looked at the heaven-bridging peak. Without saying anything, they quickly rushed over. Xiao Chan smiled coldly in his heart. Without saying anything, he leaped up and climbed the heaven-bridging peak as well. Yuan Jun's gaze landed on the countless skeletons. Then he placed one hand on his chest and bowed. "Buddha is merciful. Excellent, excellent." Chapter 2170. Yuan Jun recited his Buddhist name and started chanting scriptures in this burial ground. A lotus appeared under Yuan Jun's feet, carrying him through the boundless corpses. Who knew if he was searching for something or if he was really speculating in stocks and accumulating beneficence? Regardless of what this person was thinking, the focus of Paradise's final trial would definitely be on that heaven-bridging peak. The false emperor outstanding talents of the various super factions all climbed the heaven-bridging peak, wanting to be the first to stand on the God-conferring platform. Without a doubt, whoever could truly occupy the God-conferring platform will be the greatest winner of Paradise. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The disciples of the Heavenly Alliance, Bushin Palace, the Universe Origin Sect, the Profound Heaven Holy Land, and the other super factions appeared one after another in the burial ground. Soon, they flew towards the heaven-bridging peak. Soon, the heaven-bridging peak was filled with people. Hundreds of outstanding talents of the 5 super factions gathered here, climbing to the summit. However, the ones truly at the front were Xiao Chun and the other false emperor outstanding talents. These people were all chasing after them. The latecomers did not even get to see their backs. Everyone wanted to climb the God-conferring platform quickly, wanted to gain the chance to comprehend the Tao, soar their cultivation, and improve their strength. However, how could the heaven-bridging peak be so easy to climb? Although it no longer had any divine nature, the might and pressure from the remnant divine might was not something that a sovereign personage could easily resist. Occasionally, illusions of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters appeared. These were not the 3 calamities and 9 disasters that faux gods had to experience, just illusions that existed in the river of time. However, to Shao Chun and the others, the heaven-bridging peak was still filled with danger. Even if Gu Yuhan and the others wanted to seek trouble for the strange person here, even if they knew that he snatched that 100,000-year-old Herb King, they would not be able to divert their attention to settle the score with Shao Chun. For now, Gu Yuhan and the others would not be able to divert their attention to settle the score with Shao Chun. As Shao Chun walked between the peaks, he had an easier time than the others. His blue dragon divine body, which he had already awakened once, held an advantage here. Originally, Yuan Zhen cultivated the indestructible iron body. In terms of strength, his Arhat Dharma body was even stronger than Shao Chen's divine body. Unfortunately, for some reason, this monk did not want to climb the peak. Without Yuan Zhen, no one could surpass Shao Chun. Hundreds of people climbed the heaven-bridging peak. The various false emperor outstanding talents were far in the lead. Then, Shao Chun took the lead, leading the other false emperor outstanding talents. Outside the trial tower, the expression of the profound heaven holy lands Gu Fei already turned somewhat unsightly. Who would have thought that such a situation would happen to the bet that they were sure to win? Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and said, "Lunatic Gu, it looks like I have some chance of winning this bet. I'm afraid it was too early for you to be complacent before." Gu Fei snorted. "Humph, the show has only just begun. If he could stand on the conferred god platform and ignite the divine flame, then he would have won. Just standing there and not getting any benefits at all before being blasted off was not something to be proud of. Besides, none of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters have appeared yet. Our lead doesn't count." Light flashed in Mu Zifeng's eyes as he said indifferently, "I know what you are thinking. However, let's wait and see who will have a last laugh. This weirdo really got first place." Indeed, if he had not spent some time talking to Yuan Zhen, he would probably have gone even further. Although he's in the lead now, he's not really in the lead. He's mainly relying on the advantage of his physical body. However, the later tribulations were not something that could be passed by relying on the advantage of one's physical body. At that time, the others will be able to display their advantages, and they might have a chance to overtake us. Yes, let's continue watching. This bet is really interesting. I thought I would definitely lose, but who would have thought that this strange person would actually come out and kill me? Although the group of faux god powerhouses did not like Shao Chun, they did not like him. However, in the depths of their hearts, they felt admiration for him for being able to get first place. Furthermore, the bridge of the brave that he walked was much more difficult than the bridges of the false emperor geniuses. The 3 calamities and 9 tribulations are here, someone exclaimed softly. Then, on the light screen, countless flaming clouds gathered at the top of the heaven-bridging peak. In the next moment, the entire sky was filled with flames as if doomsday had arrived. It was the first of the 3 calamities and 9 calamities, doomsday fire. Of course, this was just an illusion that came from the flow of space-time and not the true flaming doomsday. If it were real, not to mention a sovereign personage, even a faux god would find it hard to block it. The appearance of the doomsday fire was a test and an opportunity for many people. There was no need to say much about the test. In the face of the doomsday fire, no one dared to take it lightly. If Shao Chun didn't handle it well, it would be a great opportunity to overtake him. Boom! Almost as soon as the fiery clouds appeared, the doomsday fire descended with a loud rumble. No one on the peak of Tongtian could avoid it. However, there was a difference in order of priority. The first to bear the brunt was naturally Shao Chun. Shao Chun's expression did not change. He was already prepared for this, and he quickly untied the bedsheets. Shao Chun used the Ice Dao domain to support the bedsheet. The bedsheet immediately turned snow white like frost. When it covered the body, it instantly felt bone-chilling, just enough to offset the terrifying power of the doomsday fire. The entire sky-piercing peak turned into a blazing mountain of flames in the doomsday fire. Many of the people who grasped the fire great Dao immediately showed cocky expressions. These people all spread out their fire Tao domains and instantly felt much more relaxed. They could even refine the doomsday fire. Not only did they not suffer any injuries, but they even benefited from it. Only an illusion would dare to refine it like this. If it were a real doomsday fire, even a faux god would not dare take it lightly, much less refine it. Naturally, the people who did not grasp the fire great Tao naturally showed extremely unsightly expressions. Not to mention advancing, even holding on would be a problem. At this moment, the ones who felt the most pleased were naturally the Bushan Palace's Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai. A flame mark burned on the two's foreheads. That was the mark of the universe origin true flame that had been passed down for 1,000,000 years. Compared to Xiao Qin's universe origin true flame, these two's universe origin true flame had more spirituality and charm. Xiaobai used this opportunity to surpass that strange person in one go. If you are confident, help me delay him, Chu Feng said seriously as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Chu Feng wanted to sacrifice Feng Xiaobai at the crucial moment to help himself. Feng Xiaobai felt somewhat dissatisfied. However, the other party was a member of the royal court and held a higher status than him. There was no need to overthink it. Feng Xiaobai felt somewhat dissatisfied. However, the other party was a member of the royal court, someone with a higher status than him. There was no need to overthink it. If there's an opportunity, I'll make a move. The two seemed to have divine assistance in the flames. They immediately shook off the other false emperor outstanding talents and frantically chased after Xiao Chun. These two guys have too much of an advantage now. I'm afraid they're going to surpass that weirdo. Bushan Palace's Xiao Zun said somewhat gloomily as he watched Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai rush past him. Feng Xiaobai, who was at the side, smiled coldly and said, "There's no rush. The 3 calamities and 9 disasters have just begun. It will not be that easy for the universe origin sect to have the last laugh. If the two of them were to fight with that weirdo, we would be the ones laughing. Yes, let's be careful. This is the first calamity, so let's focus on stability. Don't use your trump cards for now." Thud, thud, thud. Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai ran wildly through the surging Armageddon calamity. However, they were shocked to discover that Xiao Chun was not much slower than them. What's going on? Chu Feng's expression could not help changing drastically. If they could not catch up to Xiao Chun, they would not have a chance when the second calamity arrived. Feng Xiaobai heaved a sigh of relief. He was not confident of fighting with this strange person in this flaming mountain. If they were not careful, they might fall off the heaven-bridging peak. World-exterminating lightning calamity. While the two were stunned, the Armageddon fire scattered, and the second calamity, the world-exterminating lightning calamity, quickly descended. Suddenly, thousands of purple lightning bolts descended outside the heaven-bridging peak. From the outside, this heaven-bridging peak looked resplendent and dazzling. The entire peak bathed in the lightning tribulation, giving off a dazzling purple light. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the lightning bolts descended, the frost on the snow-white bedsheet covering Xiao Chun scattered, looking like white snow falling off. He silently spread out his peak third-layer thunder Tao domain. To Xiao Chun, dealing with this world-exterminating lightning calamity was even easier than dealing with a fire. Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai had just blocked the lightning bolts. When they looked up, they could not even see Xiao Chen's back. They did not know how far they had been left behind. Just at this moment, flute music rang out. It was Gu Yuhan holding the flute. When he played it, he could actually control lightning. Not only did the lightning fail to stop him, but it even aided him, allowing him to ascend the heaven-bridging peak. Soon, Gu Yuhan saw Xiao Chen's figure, and the murderous intent in his eyes immediately turned cold. When Gu Yuhan thought about the scene of Xiao Chun fooling him in the herb field, he could not suppress the murderous intent in his heart. Why is this fellow not moving? However, Gu Yuhan found it strange that Xiao Chun, who had been moving very fast, suddenly stopped, appearing to be in a daze. At this moment, Xiao Chan felt shocked as he looked at the heaven-bridging peak bathed in lightning and dazzling purple light. He finally understood why the heaven-bridging peak felt both familiar and strange at first glance. This sense of familiarity came from the azure mountain with a broken dragon head in the desolate sea. Chapter 2171. When he first saw the sky-piercing peak, he felt a sense of familiarity and unfamiliarity. At that time, he felt puzzled. However, when Yuan Jun appeared and got interrupted, Xiao Chun did not overthink. Now that he was climbing higher and higher, that familiar feeling was getting stronger and stronger. It was only when the entire mountain was illuminated by lightning that Xiao Chun remembered the blue dragon's old haunt, the green mountain that had lost its dragon head. As he thought about it, Xiao Chun was instantly stunned. Could it be that the green mountain was one of the broken, sky-reaching peaks? But, although the sky-piercing peak in front of him was incomparably frightening, it was still a heavenly tribulation. However, its divinity clearly remained, and its spirituality was still present. It was majestic and magnificent, causing others to feel deep veneration and not dare to profane it. However, the headless Blue Dragon Mountain in the Blue Dragon Haunt was a demonic mountain, a mountain that almost made him become a demon. For a moment, Xiao Chun was shocked. He was trying to figure out what was going on. That day, when he climbed the mountain, he instantly fell into a demonic trance. Today, when he ascended the conferred God platform, would the same thing happen again? If he were to fall into the demonic path in front of everyone, it would be disastrous. He really did not know what the consequences would be. While he was distracted, Xiao Chan fell into deep thought and hesitated. Buzz! Suddenly, the sound of a flute rang in his ears. Boundless killing intent assaulted him, and Xiao Chun was jolted awake. The bedsheet condensed into a saber, and he turned around and slashed. This slash happened to merge with the Taoist rhyme of the apocalyptic lightning tribulation. Although Xiao Chun was in a daze, in reality, his thunder, Tao domain had been spreading out. Without needing to get distracted, he could merge with the heaven-bridging peaks lightning calamity. Boom! This slash happened to strike at the same time as the doomsday lightning disaster. Taking advantage of the timing and location, this slash was ridiculously powerful. Gu Yuhan's face sank. He had no choice but to stop playing the flute as his figure weaved through the electric light. In the blink of an eye, strands of energy condensed from divine energy shot out. So. With a flick of his finger, he shot out a total of 9 rays of light, destroying all the descending purple lightning. However, the saber light containing the purple lightning did not scatter. Gu Yuhan had to move back. On this heaven-bridging peak, I have the advantage of favorable timing and favorable location. Don't even think about taking advantage of me. The remnant divine might in the heaven-bridging peak was oppressive. It was fine if one did not advance, but once one retreated, the pressure would increase explosively. Gu Yuhan showed an unsightly expression as the divine might pushed him back repeatedly. At the same time, he had to dodge the world annihilation lightning calamity. In an instant, his nimble figure turned into a sorry figure. Rumble. A few dangerous bolts of tribulation, lightning, forced Gu Yuhan to roll around on the mountain peak before he managed to dodge them by a hair's breadth. Ha! Brother Gu's movement technique is excellent. To think that you, the bona fide profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talent, practiced the lazy donkey roll so skillfully. Gu Yuhan stood up and looked. Unexpectedly, he landed beside the universe origin sects Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai. The one who sneered was the universe origin sects Chu Feng, who looked at him with a smile. Courting death. Gu Yuhan had a cold and aloof personality. Without saying anything, he leaped up and charged at Chu Feng. Feng Xiaobai and Chu Feng felt stunned. Unexpectedly, this person had such a decisive character. With just one teasing, he wanted to kill. This was the heaven-bridging peak. However, the two did not fear it. No matter how strong this Gu Yuhan was, he would only be sending himself to death. Senior brother, don't be impatient. Just at this moment, Mu Yunju appeared and quickly stopped Gu Yuhan. Gu Yuhan still showed some respect to his fellow sect member. He turned around and withdrew his killing move. Chu Feng and Feng Xiaobai heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Although they were not afraid of fighting, Chu Feng was not afraid. Although they were not afraid of fighting, if they really fought, the two would not be able to continue climbing the heaven-bridging peak. Senior brother, the person wrapped in bandages is Xiao Chun, Mu Yinzhu said as he looked at Gu Yuhan. What? Feng Xiaobai exclaimed in disbelief, his expression changing drastically when he heard that. If it is not him, who else could it be? A cold laugh rang out. It was Bai Yunfei rushing over with Xiahou Zun beside him. Bai Yunfei growled, "You're all a bunch of idiots. Think about the void god realm. Aside from Xiao Chun, who else possesses the dragon race bloodline, is skilled with the saber, and grasps the thunder great Dao and the ice great Dao? However, didn't he fail to form a perfect divine seal and suffer a backlash? Furthermore, why is Xiao Chun dressed so strangely, coming out wrapped in a bedsheet?" Mu Yinzhu said, "Brother Bai and I discussed this earlier. Previously, he did not make a move much. Furthermore, he dressed strangely. Furthermore, even if we suspected him, we would not have expected him to be Xiao Chun. However, after thinking about it carefully, among the faux God world disciples, aside from Xiao Chun, no one matches his identity. Actually, they should have thought of this long ago. However, Xiao Chun's current attire was simply too strange. Furthermore, they had already received news that Xiao Chun failed to form a divine seal, so they did not think about it. Now that they came to their senses, the more they thought about it, the more they felt that it was Xiao Chun. Damn it, had I known that it was him, I would have taken his life in the herb field. To think that this fellow dares to appear." Feng Xiaobai cursed, unable to hide his rage. Bai Yunfei looked at the heaven-bridging peak and said, "If that baldy Yuan Zhen did not come, no one will have an advantage over him on this heaven-bridging peak. He already obtained 2 of the advantages of the right time, the right place, and the right people. He will probably monopolize the benefits of this God-conferring platform." "What do you mean?" Bai Yunfei replied indifferently. "Although there are conflicts and gaps between us, we clearly only have one common enemy. If we do not work together and fight on our own, we will not be able to catch up. If we work together, given our strength, there is no need to fear the 3 calamities and 9 disasters." The group remained silent. Working together meant splitting the benefits of the God-conferring platform equally. However, everyone here wanted to monopolize it. Otherwise, they would be able to benefit as well. That way, they would not be able to widen the gap between them. However, the higher Xiao Chun went, the indistinct his back was no longer visible. If they did not work together, they would only benefit him. "Senior brother, what do you think?" Mu Yinzhu sent a voice projection as he looked at Gu Yuhan. Gu Yuhan sent a voice projection back. "We cannot trust these people. This is especially so for that Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei. These 2 are very scheming. We can work with them, but we have to hold back ourselves. When the time comes, we will act according to the situation. If there is an opportunity, you and I will monopolize the God-conferring platform." Senior brother's thoughts are about the same as mine. Chu Feng is still fine. However, that Bai Yunfei experienced 2 calamities along the way. However, he did not use any trump cards. He is especially terrifying. After the voice projection ended, Mu Yinzhu said, "Senior brother and I have finished discussing this. The heaven-bridging peak has only cleared 2 of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. If we do not work together, we will not be able to catch up to Xiao Chun." "I agree as well." A meaningful look flashed in Chu Feng's eyes as he smiled faintly. "Good. In that case, let's work together to clear the 3 calamities and 9 disasters." Hence, this group of people with ulterior motives and plans decided to work together to deal with Xiao Chun. Outside the trial tower, the group of faux god powerhouses exchanged glances, showing somewhat unnatural expressions. Mu Zifeng guffawed. "Ha ha ha. Interesting. This seems to be the first time the disciples of the Universe Origin sect, the profound Heaven Holy Land, and the Bushan Palace worked together to deal with my Heavenly Alliance since it was established. Compared to the other super factions, the Heavenly Alliance was weaker in the first place, ranked at the bottom. If the disciples of the other super factions worked together, even if they lost this bet, the Heavenly Alliance's reputation would not be affected at all. Instead, it would boost the Heavenly Alliance's reputation. At that time, it would be a Heavenly Alliance disciple fighting 3 super factions alone. Useless thing. Gu Fei felt somewhat embarrassed, so he could not help cursing in his heart. However, he did not show it. He smiled coldly and said, "What are you feeling cocky for? Let's see if you can still smile when this Xiao Chan falls to his death on the heaven-bridging peak." Mu Zifeng knew that Gu Fei was feeling righteous, so he did not mind. He smiled and said, "Haha, you are overthinking. If he is really a member of my Heavenly Alliance, he will have the alloy battle armor protecting him. Even if he falls off this heaven-bridging peak, he will not die. You should worry about the 2 disciples of your profound Heaven Holy Land. If they fall, I wonder if the ancient profound Heaven Sword can save them." Humph. Gu Fei snorted coldly and did not say anything more. Before this bet ended, he had already lost most of it. Even if he won in the end, it would be pointless. The 6 false Emperor outstanding talents on the heaven-bridging peak each had their own merits. When they worked together, they were truly unstoppable. The 3 calamities and 9 disasters appeared one after another, but they could not stop this group's progress. They immediately left the people behind far behind. Xiao Chun. 4 hours later, the 6 eyes lit up. They finally saw Xiao Chen's figure. The 6 immediately felt excited, unable to hide the excitement in their eyes. After him, if we put in more effort, we will be able to catch up to him in less than 1 hour. At this moment, the 6 were less than 3 kilometers away from the god-conferring platform. When Xiao Chan sensed the surging auras behind him, he turned his head back to look, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. To think that the 6 false Emperor outstanding talents were working together. "Xiao Chun, if you stop here, we can write off the grudge between us. That dog of the sun, Xiao Chun, why are you still not revealing your true form? Do you think you can fool us by pretending to be crazy? Quickly stop. Otherwise, you will fall on this god-conferring platform today." The 6 below felt excited. However, they also felt somewhat anxious and worried, as they were not far from the god-conferring platform. They figured it out? Xiao Chun was not surprised. If this group of outstanding talents still could not figure out his identity at this time, they would be stupid enough to eat shit. He is not moving anymore. This fellow is frightened. When we catch up to him later, everyone will attack together and destroy him. Damn it. Previously, when he worked with that bald monk in the Icefire Wasteland, he fooled us badly. Seeing that Xiao Chan suddenly stopped moving in front, the 6 expressions immediately became excited, and their auras soared. Only Gu Yuhan felt somewhat confused. Earlier, Xiao Chun had been like this as well, hesitating to move forward. However, when Xiao Chun turned around and chopped down, Gu Yuhan fell. Gu Yuhan, who thought that his sneak attack would succeed, ended up suffering greatly. Junior brother, be careful. There is something strange about this fellow. He is definitely not frightened. Gu Yuhan did not remind Gu Yuhan. The 4 beside him sent voice projections to Mu Yunju. Feeling suspicious, Mu Yunju replied yes. Given my understanding of him, he should not be like this. But why'd he stop like this? Just wait and see. If he is really stupid, don't give up on the opportunity to make a move. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 6 attacked again, all of them moving faster. Clearly, they had held back when they worked together earlier. Xiao Chan was getting closer and closer to the god-conferring platform. However, Xiao Chan did not reveal any of his trump cards. The 6 knew this, but kept it a secret. They only increased their speed, not willing to fall behind. To go up or not. If Xiao Chan went up, he would be able to reach the god-conferring platform in 3 steps if he burst out with his full power. If he did not, he would turn around and leave, avoiding these 6. His life would not be in danger. Xiao Chan had gained a lot in paradise, so there was no need to find it too unfortunate. He did not need to reach the god-conferring platform and search for an opportunity to to soar into the sky. However, the scene of him falling into a berserk Tao at the summit of the Azure Mountain appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. This made the usually decisive Xiao Chen hesitate. If Xiao Chen reached the god-conferring platform and fell into a berserk Tao as well, even Mu Zifeng would not be able to protect him. Difficult. This path is difficult as ascending to the sky. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the 6 false Emperor outstanding talents closed in. There was not much time left for Xiao Chen. Chapter 2172. The 6 false Emperor outstanding talents could not be bothered with these thoughts in the time it took for a spark to fly. As they moved, they slowly approached Xiao Chen, their eyes overflowing with killing intent. Why isn't this weirdo moving? Do you want to die? We're only 10,000 feet away from stepping onto the divine seal, altar. What are you hesitating for? Xiao Chen wasn't anxious, but the spectators outside the training grounds were anxious. They all shook their heads and sighed, not understanding what was going on. Even Mu Zifeng felt very confused at this moment, revealing some anxiety in his eyes. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. Mu Zifeng immediately felt uncertain. Even with the alloy battle armor protecting him, 6 false Emperor outstanding talents surrounded him. Life and death were really hard to predict. Everything was hard to say. At the same time, the disciples below the sky-piercing peak who were gradually catching up also saw this scene. Although they were still very far away and the divine might suppress them, they were all heaven-defying sovereign personages. Their vision was not restricted. Looking into the distance, he could still see the scene in the distance. The leader is actually that weirdo. Zhang Yushan's injuries were almost healed. When he saw Xiao Chen, who was high up in the sky, he immediately felt his face hurt. He hated this Xiao Chen to the core. He had slapped him so many times that he was hovering between life and death. He had lost all his face. Senior brother, why do you think that eccentric person isn't moving? If we don't, then Senior Brother Gu and the others will catch up to us. At that time, only death awaits us. The 2 junior brothers watched from the side, puzzled. Zhang Yushan gritted his teeth and said, "It's good that he's dead. It'd be best if he falls off this Tongtian peak. I'll definitely jump down and stomp on him a few times." The 2 junior brothers looked at each other in dismay. Ever since their senior brother was slapped into a pig's head, his brain had not been working well. This was the Tongtian peak. It was hard to climb up, but even harder to descend. With the presence of the divine might, how could they jump just because they wanted to? Be careful that before others fell to their deaths, they would be smashed into meat paste first. Let's go. I want to see how a bunch of people beat up that dog. Zhang Yushan was burning with anxiety. He mustered his strength and wanted to take a look as soon as possible. Xiao Chen already imagined the scene of the 6 false Emperor outstanding talents beating this strange person up like a dog. If he had the chance, he might even step on them a few times to vent his anger. Divine Seal Altar. Xiao Chen gazed at the top of the mountain. To him, the height of 1,000 zhong was as if it was right in front of him, and he could see it clearly. The auras of the 6 false Emperor outstanding talents grew increasingly closer. Xiao Chen even felt a stabbing, killing intent behind him. Sharp, cold, and icy. If there was a chance, these people would take his life in an instant. They would not be lenient. Xiao Chen closed his eyes, allowing the cold wind to surge around him, allowing the murderous aura behind him to surge, allowing his thoughts to drift, only seeking to empty his mind. To me, going up or not is actually a false proposition. Once he went up, he would not be able to suppress the demonic aura in his body, and he would reenact the scene at the peak of Green Mountain, turning into a demon under the moonlight. If that really happened, there was no doubt that he would die. The various super factions would not tolerate a person who cultivated a demonic technique appearing in the faux god world. If they treated him as a spy of the demonic path, then they could kill him as they wished. There wouldn't be any problems. Therefore, the real question in his heart was not whether to go up or not, but whether he was afraid of death. How stupid, Xiao Chen suddenly scolded himself. It was best not to step on this bridge, because he had chosen a heavenly bridge that tested his courage. From the moment Shao Chun stepped onto the bridge of courage, his heart already gave him the answer. If he went up this divine seal altar, then so be it. There was no need to worry so much. Not to mention whether he would fall into the demonic path or not. So what if he did? With a clear conscience, there was no need to care about what others thought. It was just like how Shao Chun was now wrapped in a bedsheet, not caring about what others thought. Shao Chun opened his eyes, and a brilliant light flashed in them, revealing a sharp light. Boom! Resplendent electric light burst out of Shao Chun's body, looking as piercing as the sun. Whoosh! The piercing electric light startled Chu Feng and the others. They squinted, finding it extremely strange. Surround him. This fellow is probably making a breakthrough in some secret technique. When the six saw the situation, they were slightly stunned. Then, they soared into the air and charged at that clump of resplendent electric light. When the light scattered, they saw a person wearing alloy battle armor. His handsome face looked like it had been carved with a knife. He looked very handsome and heroic, exuding a tyrannical air. Who else could that face be but Shao Chun? Shao Chun, indeed, it is you. I will definitely kill you today. Upon seeing Shao Chun reveal his true appearance, Bai Yunfei, Mu Yunju, Feng Xiaobai, and the others who had grudges with Shao Chun felt their qi and blood surge. Overwhelming rage twisted their faces, making them wish that they could tear Shao Chun apart. This was especially so when Bai Yunfei, who had vomited blood and fainted at the divine capital's gate, gritted his teeth. Just one look was enough to frighten everyone. It has been a long time. The few of you are still as graceful as before. However, it is not that easy to kill me. Get down. Seeing that the six looked like they wanted to eat him up, Shao Chun felt extremely happy. He threw a palm strike as he laughed loudly. Dragon's Gate secret technique, Firmament's Rage. The rage from the ancient great desolate Aeon made the heaven-bridging peak tremble slightly. A huge palm materialized a world of lightning using the five-element divine lightning. Boundless saber, intent spread out in that world of lightning. This was an incredibly strong Dragon's Gate secret technique in the first place. Furthermore, Shao Chun had the advantage of the heaven-bridging peak when he drove it with his third-layer Thunder Dao Domain. When he threw a palm strike from above, it happened to merge with the divine might. In that instant, Chu Feng and the other five felt like the sky had fallen on them. The six expressions changed. They felt heavy pressure bearing down on them, making breathing difficult. Retreat. This sudden palm strike, which Shao Chun held the advantage of time and place, instantly extinguished the six auras, forcing them to take 3 steps back. Only then did the six execute their killing moves and condense divine energy to break the palm strike. It's Shao Chun. When Zhang Yushan, who was below, saw the earlier scene, he nearly fell in fright. Then, he quickly supported Zhang Yushan. Senior brother, be careful. Zhang Yushan had yet to recover from his shock. He said absent-mindedly, "Damn it, didn't he clearly fail to break through to the divine seal? Why is he here?" Shao Chun, who suppressed Zhang Yushan for 5 years in Fiend Cloud Hall, was actually the person who beat Zhang Yushan into a pig's head. Zhang Yushan simply could not accept such a result. It really is the Heavenly Alliance's Shao Chun. Upon seeing Shao Chun attack, the group of faux god powerhouses outside the trial tower felt slightly stunned. Although they had already guessed it, they still felt somewhat shocked when they saw Shao Chun reveal his true appearance. Indeed, it is him. However, Mu Zifeng showed pleasant surprise in his eyes. He revealed a joyful smile. It really is that fellow. Gu Fei showed a grave expression, feeling a mountain-like pressure. After Shao Chun threw his palm strike, he turned around and flew towards the god-conferring platform. It looked like Shao Chun would truly step onto the god-conferring platform soon. Whoosh! Whoosh! On the heaven-bridging peak, Chu Feng and the other 5 were false emperor outstanding talents, after all. They took 3 steps back and condensed their divine energy to break Firmament's rage in just one breath. When the electric light scattered, They looked up and saw that Xiao Chun was already less than 300 meters away from the god-conferring platform. If he had not delayed earlier, he would not have stood a chance at all. Now, it is hard to say. Bai Yunfei exchanged glances with Chu Feng and sent a voice projection. Then, the six charged over again. Mu Yunju felt incredibly frustrated. He did not notice this scene. Right now, he only had eyes for Xiao Chun. Damn it, I don't believe that I can let you escape this time. Although the divine might here was at its densest, it was only 3 kilometers in the end. The six would only need 4 or 5 breaths to cross it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, just at this moment, Xiao Hozun and Fang Xiaobai turned around and blocked Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan at the same time. Chu Feng smiled faintly and said, "The two of you, Brother Bai and I will take our leave first. Don't worry. The two of us will definitely help you kill Xiao Chun." "The two of you, what is the meaning of this?" Mu Yunju shouted sullenly, enraged by the sudden situation. Xiao Hozun smiled and said, "Brother Mu, there is no need to act stupid. Everyone knows that. Splitting the benefits of this god-conferring platform equally is not enough. Just stay here in peace. You might as well help Brother Bai and Brother Chu." At this moment, Mu Yunju finally understood. These 4 had colluded in secret. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei must have promised them benefits. Mu Yunju had been waiting for this moment to get Xiao Hozun and Fang Xiaobai to block him and Gu Yuhan. "Senior brother, what should we do?" Mu Yunju could not help feeling anxious. The 4 were about equal in strength. There would be no problem for Xiao Hozun and Fang Xiaobai to delay the 2. If they really fought, as long as Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng left the mountain, the 2 would definitely suffer a great loss when the 4 worked together. Gu Yuhan glanced indifferently at the summit. A figure had just entered the summit. It was Xiao Chun, who had already ascended the god-conferring platform. Gu Yuhan could not help thinking, this Xiao Chun does not just hold the right time and location. He clearly holds the right time, the right place, and the right people. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng are 2 fools. They thought that they already had Xiao Chun in the bag and did not fight with Xiao Chun at all. If they underestimated the enemy, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 2173. With a thought, Xiao Chun quickly set aside his thoughts. He knew that the opportunity he had been waiting for had arrived. If a choice appeared before him, one that could sever all karma and allow him to become a true god, what would he choose? "Xiao Chun, if I don't die today, I will tear you into 10,000 pieces in the future." Before the 2 could do anything, Xiao Chun instantly spread out his peak 3rd-layer Thunder Dao domain. The storm-like attacks were boundlessly sharp. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei brought out all their trump cards. At the foot of the mountain, Yuan Zhen, who was chanting scriptures, glanced over. His expression did not change as he continued walking through this vast and boundless burial ground. Xiao Chun knew that this was because the heaven-bridging peak had broken into 3 pieces and lost its divine nature long ago. The world tree supporting the heavenly realm had broken, and the heaven-bridging peak had fallen. The martial epic could no longer truly become a true god. Indeed, by severing karma, one could seek freedom and no longer be bound by anything. Everything in the past would become nothing. The many knots in one's heart and mental barriers would no longer exist now or in the future. One would no longer be tainted by karma or bound by the world. One could do whatever one wanted. Such a change made Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei's expressions turn somewhat unsightly. They showed anxious expressions as they exchanged glances and quickly sent voice projections. Calling it the god-conferring platform was too much of an exaggeration. Interesting. Xiao Chen's lips curled up in a smile. He could see the surroundings from the heaven-bridging peak. Chaotic cycles, breaking the shackles of time, no longer suffering from the torment of aging, sickness, and death. From then on, one would be immortal, existing forever with the world. This made this god-conferring platform look somewhat strange. It looked like a skeleton with a soul. Xiao Chun could not be bothered with this monk, who knew what he was thinking. He looked around and fixed his gaze on the god-conferring platform below him. He saw Yuan Zhen, the cunning monk of the hidden spirit temple, who hid his strength like a fox. Humph. Dream on. The two of us spent a lot of effort to get to the God-conferring platform. How can we let you take advantage of us? Immediately, a miniature scene appeared on Yuan Jun's finger, showing the karma. Miserable cries immediately resounded throughout the heaven-bridging peak, startling everyone who heard them. Xiao Chun fought against two alone, yet he still managed to knock Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei away. On the divine seal altar, there was a great wind. Xiao Chun leaped over and placed half his foot on it. The moment he landed, he was almost blown away by the strong wind. The entire peak of Tongtian Peak had been flattened, but there were no signs of human activity. His face instantly turned pale with fright, drained of blood, and panicked. Xiao Qin couldn't help but ponder for a moment, but he immediately rejected it. This kind of hypothetical question was meaningless. With a boom, the powerful might of the Tao of Thunder spread out. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng were caught off guard and were forced to take several steps back. In an instant, they were pushed to the edge of the conferred God stage. Their bodies swayed, and they almost fell. They could clearly see Xiao Qian's appearance. His body was covered in silver armor, and his eyes shone brightly. His eyebrows were like swords, and his eyes were like stars. He looked heroic. Unfortunately, now that the heavenly realm was broken and the world tree was destroyed, all of this had already become a legend. Xiao Chun asked himself. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak discussed animatedly, feeling extremely shocked by this contrast. When the light lit up, it also illuminated Xiao Qin's appearance at the summit. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak immediately saw this mysterious phenomenon. After knocking back 6 people with Firmament's Rage, Xiao Chun did not hold anything back. He faced the strongest divine might at the peak and stepped onto the God-conferred platform. Fang Xiaobai and Xiao Hozun blocked Gu Yuhan and Mu Yinzhu. However, this did not affect Xiao Chun at all. Right now, Xiao Chun stood on the God-conferred platform and looked at the flowing space-time and the karmic threads flowing upside down. When Fang Xiaobai saw the 3 Prometheal lamps, he smiled faintly and said, "Not bad. Xiao Chun, thank you for lighting these 3 Prometheal lamps for me. Brother Chu, and I will remember your kindness. Now you can scram down." Even though this was not Xiao Qian's first time seeing a Prometheal lamp, he still felt disappointed and frustrated. If only he could light up his divine bridge and ascend to the heavenly realm. How great would that be? Seeing that they could no longer endure, Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng lost all of their earlier arrogance. Their expressions were miserable as they begged Xiao Chun for mercy. Even the heavenly gods that managed to survive the previous great war between the righteous factions and demonic factions lost their eternal lives. Karma bound them, and they did not dare to leave the faux god world, fearing a backlash from the world. It's too late. Prometheal lamp. 1 lamp, 2 lamps, 3 lamps. The veritable essence energy in Xiao Qian's body was continuously sucked into the God-conferred platform. Releasing it was extremely difficult. Connecting the sky. If it were in the past, he would have been 1 step away from the sky. Xiao Chun showed a calm expression as he said, "The fortuitous encounters in this God-conferred platform can be shared among the 3 of us. There is no need to fight to the death. If there are any grudges, we can resolve them on the God-conferred platform." So, that strange person is Xiao Chun. This is too incredible. Time, location, and the 3-layer Thunder Dao domain. Xiao Chun held all sorts of advantages. He had given these 2 a chance to enjoy the benefits of the God-conferred platform. In the end, they even tried to chase him off. Why did they insist on severing their karma? However, right now, Xiao Chun could only look at the faux gods of the past. On the divine conferred altar, this was the most exciting moment. They could sever the karma that bound them to the heavens and earth and obtain true freedom. 3rd layer, Dao domain. How can this be? I gave you face, but you rejected it. Xiao Chun flicked his finger, and a drop of blood shot out and landed on the azure lamp. Xiao Chun. As a sovereign personage, Xiao Chun still had to respect the God-conferred platform. He could not underestimate it or profane it. Xiao Chun did not show any mercy, punching the two off the god-conferred platform. Chu Feng smiled sinisterly and said, I had the same intention. I am also not willing to share the benefits of this god-conferred platform with a third person. Xiao Chun took a step forward. The moment he stepped onto the god-conferred platform, something strange happened. I wonder how many permethal lamps Xiao Chun can light up on the god-conferred platform? I heard that some people manage to light up 5 permethal lamps at most. At this moment, no one said anything. Even the bet between Mu Zifeng and Gu Fei was temporarily put aside. Xiao Chen's heart sank. He knew that this was not the time to lament about this. Not being able to advance to godhood did not mean that it was useless to him. However, just at this moment, 2 strong winds blew. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng appeared at the same time, landing on the god-conferred platform. Was his life bitter? Did he have any regrets? Did he experience unbearable pain? The permethal lamps were originally meant to allow one to surpass the permethal lamp, illuminating the divine bridge and allowing one to step onto the deity realm. Now, they could only be used as treasures for sovereign personages to comprehend the Tao and obtain fortuitous encounters. It looked like Xiao Chun would have no problem lighting up at least 4 permethal lamps. However, just as the two circulated their veritable essence energy, their expressions changed slightly. Xiao Chun was extremely strong in the first place, about as strong as a false emperor. After putting on the alloy battle armor, he immediately entered his peak state. Whoosh! Whoosh! The many faux god powerhouses outside the trial tower were entranced when they saw this scene. Xiao Chun continuously used his third-layer thunder, Dao Domain, to suppress the two. Then, he pressed forward and instantly launched a sharp attack. Coincidentally, the 2 permethal lamps floated out at this moment. However, it was impossible for Xiao Chun to sever his karma just because of this. Wanting to condense divine essence, how could it be that easy to condense it? Whoosh! Xiao Chun could not be bothered with the two's shock. He smiled coldly and said, The 2 of you are not capable of chasing me off. Refine divine energy? Let's see how the 2 of you refine divine energy on this god-conferred platform. Although this god-conferred platform was ancient and mysterious, it clearly lost its spirituality, leaving only an empty platform. As Xiao Chun continued pouring in veritable essence energy, the god-conferred platform turned as viscous as water. An azure lamp slowly appeared. A determined look appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes, turning into a demonic Tao or not. It has nothing to do with me. From the moment I stepped onto the Bridge of Heroes, there was no reason to retreat. When Xiao Chun squinted, he saw that it was the scene of Xiao Chun fighting Chu Chaoyan in the Sky Dome realm during the 5-Nation Youth Competition. Whoosh! Damn it! However, Xiao Chun could only do his best to endure. He could not advance by even half an inch. Half of his foot hovered in the air, his divine body teetering on the verge of collapse. Every divine character was like a life. However, it did not have a soul or spirit. Xiao Chun smiled coldly. However, he did not show any fear at all. He had expected such a scene long ago. When Xiao Chun felt that his veritable essence energy and soul energy were still manageable, he revealed an expression of joy. The more permethal lamps he lit, the greater the benefits he would gain. If it were anywhere else, Xiao Chun would fear the might of divine energy. However, this god-conferred platform continuously absorbed the veritable essence energy of cultivators. Xiao Chun had lived a bitter life. He had many regrets, as well as unbearable pain that he could not tear his heart apart. At this moment, Xiao Chun stood at the edge, half his foot still hovering in the air. He had not truly stepped onto the god-conferred platform yet. It is time to truly step onto it. Xiao Chun chanted sutras amid the boundless corpses. Even when standing on the god-conferred platform, his silhouette was visible. The circulation of veritable essence energy in this place did not change. However, Xiao Chun had the blue dragon divine body. His physical body and vital qi were much stronger than the two's. The veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body surged like a flood. This veritable essence energy surged towards the god-conferred platform uncontrollably. Rumble. However, what was the point of doing so? Xiao Chen did not panic. Before coming, he already knew about the mysterious phenomenon that would occur after stepping onto the god-conferred platform. If karma was severed, although one would gain a new life, it would also negate one's life. Perhaps one had some regrets about one's life, feeling that the world of mortals was too bitter. No matter how strong one was, as long as one was tainted by karma, one would experience unbearable pain. Bai Yunfei said coldly, "Brother Chu, each of us can condense a strand of divine energy. We will definitely be able to knock him down. Xiao Chun, Brother Xiao, give us a chance. The two of us know we were wrong." A true god possessed vast might that surpassed time and space, jumping out of the cycle of reincarnation and not being bound by karma. However, one could only watch. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and touched a line of karma. He casually looked down. This boundless burial ground appeared insignificant in the depths of his eyes. Bang, 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 severing karma, disrupting the cycle of reincarnation. As the veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body drained, the god-conferred platform slowly spun like a millstone. The surrounding scene changed. Time and space flowed, and beams of light made of karma flowed down in reverse, looking very colorful. Suddenly, a flickering flame lit up. A strand of light immediately appeared in this dark burial ground, illuminating the surroundings. It was like the worldly ghost hatchet divine art appeared naturally. Many divine characters were embedded in it, inspiring awe. Xiao Chun revealed a nostalgic expression as he looked at the surrounding karma and the flowing time, entering deep thought. Chapter 2174. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei were knocked down. However, the permethal lamps that they activated with veritable essence energy did not disappear. Together with the permethal lamps that Xiao Chun activated earlier, 5 permethal lamps immediately appeared on the god-conferring platform. Bai Yunfei thought very well, wanting to chase Xiao Chun down and forcibly take his 3 permethal lamps. Unexpectedly, he and Chu Feng each gave Xiao Chun a permethal lamp in the end. Time flowed, and karma reversed. On the god-conferring platform, Xiao Chun showed a grave expression. In the blink of an eye, another 2 drops of essence blood landed on a permethal lamp. Xiao Chen's complexion paled significantly. Every drop of essence blood contained his soul and divine seal's origin energy. Whoosh! Whoosh! The lamp flames flickered, illuminating this part of the world. Xiao Chen's face flickered on the heaven-bridging peak summit. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak could see his handsome, delicate face, with sharp features that looked like they had been carved by a knife. 5 permethal lamps. That's 5 permethal lamps. Those 2 fools, Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei, really gave him a great gift. They really went for wool and came home shorn. Xiao Chen already gave those 2 a chance, but they rejected him. I wonder what's strange about the god-conferring platform. Those 2 false emperors cannot condense divine energy. The disciples of the 5 great sects continued climbing the heaven-bridging peak. Although the latecomers could not condense a permethal lamp, as long as they reached the god-conferring platform, they would gain something from comprehending the Tao and cultivating there. Comprehending the Tao and meditating on the spot would result in some gains, just not as great as the ones before him. Boom! Suddenly, the world roared. Xiao Chun condensed another permethal lamp. 6 permethal lamps appeared on the god-conferring platform in an instant. The high and mighty lamp flames looked as dazzling as stars from a distance. Every permethal lamp's flame was lit by Xiao Chen's soul. This had never happened before. Even the strongest person only condensed 5 permethal lamps. However, this time, with Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng's help, Xiao Chun lit 6 permethal lamps, surpassing everyone in the past. Thunderous booms resounded in the surroundings. At that instant, the wind and clouds surged as a myriad of unusual phenomena took place. A boundless and majestic spirit appeared in the sky. Amidst all sorts of terrifying phenomena, the image of a broken bridge flickered in the clouds, flickering in and out of existence. Divine bridge, heavenly bridge. Many disciples on the sky-connecting peak exclaimed as they stared at the bridge in astonishment. The divine bridge in front of them was definitely not real. It was just an illusion that came from space-time. Even so, it was still shocking. This divine bridge represented the glory of the martial epoch, all the glory of the past. Once he stepped onto this bridge, he would be able to head to the heaven realm. Unfortunately, endless sighs filled the hearts of the crowd. The faux gods outside the trial tower fell silent as well. Compared to these sovereign personages, these faux gods felt even more deeply about this scene. 6 Permethal lamps, and even the phantom of the divine bridge have appeared from the reversal of space-time. This Shao Chun is really surprising. An incredible demonic genius appeared in the Heavenly Alliance this time. We can't underestimate him in the future. I'm curious how much fortuitous encounter he can obtain after absorbing the fortuitous encounter of these 6 Permethal lamps. He will probably advance to peak false emperor with a thought. He obtained the years of bitter cultivation that others took in an instant. It's hard to say. He already refined the Thundercliff tree earlier. It's hard to say if he wants to make such a huge breakthrough. This was unprecedented. 6 Permethal lamps surprised everyone. However, another Permethal lamp appeared on the god-conferring platform amid this surprise. At the summit of the mountain, 7 stars shone brightly, illuminating the sky. The broken bridge, which flickered in and out of existence, appeared in the void. It was a sight that inspired awe and veneration. 7 stars. It turns out that he already possesses the ability to form 5 Permethal lamps alone. They are really 2 idiots. They gave Shao Chun a great opportunity for nothing. Who knows what great fortuitous encounter Shao Chun will obtain with these 7 Permethal lamps. Without Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei, Shao Chun would have only 5 Permethal lamps. He would not have caused such a commotion. However, there were no ifs in this world. The 7 lamps lit up the god-conferring platform. The light of the flames shone on Shao Chun's pale face, making him look glistening with divine light. He looked like a heroic divine general. After all, without the strength of a false emperor, 5 lamps is already my limit. As Shao Chun looked at the 7 lamps, he nodded slightly. Then he sat down cross-legged and pressed his palms together. Boom! In that instant, the 7 lamps turned into flowing light and entered Shao Chun's body. The flowing space-time and inverted threads of karma immediately wrapped around Shao Chun, spinning rapidly. Damn it! Are the 2 of you still trying to block us? Mu Yunju said to Feng Xiaobai and Xiao Hozun through clenched teeth as he looked at the mysterious phenomenon on the god-conferring platform from 3 kilometers away. Everything happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. Right after Shao Chun knocked Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei down, Mu Yunju and Feng Xiaobai saw the mysterious phenomenon on the god-conferring platform. Before the 2 could react, they saw Shao Chun materialize 7 Permethal lamps. This immediately stupefied them. The series of strange changes stupefied Feng Xiaobai and Xiao Hozun. They could not digest this in such a short time. Mu Yunju's roar startled the 2 awake. Then, fear and shock appeared in their eyes. How could it be like this? Gu Yuhan smiled coldly and said, "It is within expectations. These 2 fools do not know what the god-conferring platform's environment is like." After Shao Chun refined that 100,000-year-old Herb King, even if his strength is weaker than ours, it should not be that much weaker. By relying on the terrain and timing, as well as the fact that these 2 fools underestimated him, I'm not surprised that someone knocked them off the mountain. The moment Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei stepped onto the god-conferring platform, Gu Yuhan had already guessed the result. Others might not know Shao Chun's strength, but Gu Yuhan was very clear on it. Before he refined the Thundercliff tree, this was the best opportunity to kill Shao Chun. If he missed it, there would not be another. Gu Yuhan had encountered such an opportunity before. Unfortunately, he had not grasped it. What are we waiting for? The four of us should charge up together. I don't believe that Xiao Chun can defeat the four of us alone. Fang Xiaobai said seriously as he looked at the God-conferring platform. Foolish. If everyone was as brainless as you, not to mention 4 false emperors, even 10 false emperors would not be enough to kill him. How can Xiao Chun be that horrifying? Look at how scared you are. You are completely brainless. Disdain flashed in Gu Yuhan's eyes as he looked at the God-conferring platform. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei not only lost because they underestimated him. If the four of us go up, we will not have a good time either. What should we do then? Xiao Hozuan felt a bit depressed as a haze flashed through his eyes. He said with a low voice. Gu Yuhan replied indifferently. It's very simple. The four of us will work together and start refining divine energy. The moment we ascend the God-conferring platform, we will immediately attack and use our divine energy to execute a peak strike. Even if Xiao Chun has 9 lives, it will not be enough. The moment Gu Yuhan said that, the eyes of Xiao Hozun and the other 2 lit up. After thinking about it, if Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai had done the same earlier, the outcome might have been different. A bright light flashed in Fang Xiaobai's eyes. He said, at that time, we will split his 7 permethal lamps equally. We will still be the ones laughing in the end. All right, let's do that. Outside the trial tower, Gu Fei's lips curled up in a smile. Gu Yuhan truly lived up to his profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talent, second only to the Holy Sun. At the crucial moment, Gu Yuhan remained so calm. So what if he condensed 7 permethal lamps? In the end, my profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talents will benefit from it. Thinking of this, Gu Fei could not help feeling cocky. Mu Zifeng, who had been rather relaxed, now showed some worry on his face. This Gu Yuhan was scarily calm. He was still young, but he already showed signs of being a major character. After Gu Yuhan and the other 3 made their choice, they started refining divine energy and approached the summit step by step. However, Xiao Chun, who sat cross-legged on the God-conferring platform, found it hard to make a decision. The moment the 7 permethal lamps entered Xiao Chun's body, the scene before him suddenly changed. The incomplete bridge in the sky actually appeared before him. However, it was not one bridge, but 2. One was pitch black, and the other was jade white. One was a divine bridge, and the other was a demonic bridge. Each bridge had 7 permethal lamps on both sides. No matter what choice Xiao Chun made, he would obtain the opportunity that the 7 permethal lamps brought. Xiao Chun could clearly sense that one of the 2 bridges was made of his spiritual energy veritable essence energy, and the other was made of his demonic chi veritable essence energy. With a thought, one could become a demon or a deity. The choice was up to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun showed a strange expression. Clearly, he had not expected such a scene. Then, Xiao Chun looked into the distance, to the other side of the bridge. There seemed to be an indescribably majestic existence on the other side. Xiao Chun took a step forward and approached the demonic bridge. He immediately saw a bright moon hanging high on the other side of the bridge. Under the moonlight, a majestic figure wearing the alloy battle armor radiated a treasure light, smiling at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun frowned slightly and moved closer to the demonic bridge. A throne and a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared on the other side of the bridge. Xiao Chun leaned on the throne, supporting himself with one hand on the armrest as he raised his wine cup and took a sip. Then, Xiao Chun raised his eyebrows slightly and showed a sinister smile. The wine on Xiao Chun's lips was as bright as blood. A scarlet moon slowly rose in the sea of blood. Xiao Chun took 3 steps back and returned to his starting position. Then, he looked between the demonic bridge and the divine bridge. Chapter 2175. Inside the consciousness space, Xiao Chun still could not come out of the strange cycle. The Buddhist sects Kasayapa Buddha and the Blue Dragon Bloodline's blood-soaked Dragon Emperor all abandoned the demonic path and returned to the righteous path. Just as Xiao Chun felt at a loss, Gu Yuhan's group of 4 slowly approached the God-conferring platform on the heaven-bridging peak. It looked like they would need less than 10 seconds to charge up. Sovereign Emperor. Xiaochen closed his eyes and entered deep thought, thinking about which bridge to choose. It really is spiritual rain. Why is there spiritual rain on the God-conferring platform? Xiaochen had already seen the might of divine energy long ago. As they slowly approached, it looked like they were going to merge. However, just at this moment, something unexpected happened. The situation changed drastically. A sharp light soared into the clouds on the God-conferring platform, piercing through the sky. An aura suddenly burst out, shocking the surroundings, unprecedented in the past and present. What's going on? Xiaochen did not want to be an ancient demonic sovereign or a powerful divine sovereign. He only wanted to be himself. Xiaochen already saw the future of the divine bridge and the demonic bridge. If he chose either, the benefits of the 7 azure lamps would not diminish. Suddenly, Xiaochen felt horror in his heart. There seemed to be an unknown plot on this God-conferring platform. If Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng had not been careless and could not condense divine energy on this God-conferring platform, Xiaochen would not have defeated them so miserably. Xiaochen's position changed. 2 ancient, burning azure lamps blocked his way in all directions. However, Xiaochen had not woken up yet. The scarier thing was that Gu Yuhan's group of 4 had been condensing divine energy as they climbed. How condensed was the spiritual rain contained within the rainwater? However, such a choice did not remain in Xiaochen's memory. Perhaps it was erased. If one did not make a choice, one would not be able to reach the other side. No matter which direction one took, 2 bridges would appear, 1 divine bridge and 1 demonic bridge. The moment the 4 attacked, Mu Zifeng's expression changed. He knew that he was in trouble. With Xiaochen's experience, he could easily tell that anyone who blocked these 4 killing moves would die unless a sovereign emperor made a move. Gu Yuhan felt stupefied. Although Xiaochen was domineering earlier, everything was within Gu Yuhan's control and expectations. The disciples of the various factions were overjoyed. The spiritual rain falling from the sky was even purer than the origin liquid. There was no third option. It wasn't that they didn't want to cultivate together, but that they couldn't. Ling Yu. Perhaps it was not without reason that the sky-bridging peak was broken into 3 pieces by the Black Dragon King. The 2 bridges in front of him were formed by sensing the demonic energy and spiritual energy in his body. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei, whose heart had been hanging in suspense, began to laugh wildly, feeling incomparably pleased with himself. In the illusory space, Xiaochen opened his eyes and made his choice. Ha ha! In the end, Gu Fei won this bet. Mu Zifeng, remember, you owe me a wish. I hope you can accept your defeat. A figure suddenly stood up. With a flip of his hand, the wind and clouds changed color. Instantly, the killing moves of the 4 experts crumbled and crumbled in the blink of an eye. Xiaochen could only rely on himself to resolve the problem before him. Back then, he could not find the answer to the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's question. Furthermore, now that Xiaochen's cultivation had fallen from half-step sovereign emperor to late-stage sovereign personage, he would definitely die. In the past few years, Xiaochen had purposely given up on cultivating the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. Amid thunder and lightning, strong winds blew, and torrential rain poured endlessly. In just a few breaths, Xiaochen's cultivation plummeted like a flood, incredibly fast. Before the 4 could sigh, the remaining palm lights shattered their internal organs, leaving thousands of holes in their bodies. Then, they fell off the sky-bridging peak. However, when Xiaochen looked back, nothing changed. Only by making a choice could one see where the other shore was. If it were someone else, perhaps only 1 bridge would appear before them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 2 divine bridges appeared because of Xiaochen. Long ago, Xiaochen learned that one could not cultivate the righteous Tao and demonic Tao cultivation techniques at the same time in the martial epic. As Xiaochen looked at the 2 ancient bridges in front, he sat down cross-legged and formed hand seals. Immediately, the spiritual energy and veritable essence energy in his body flowed out continuously. If he had to choose one path to obtain the benefits of the 7 azure lamps, then he would not mind giving up on it. back in the real world, on the God-conferring platform on the heaven-bridging peak. After entering this God-conferring platform, Xiao Chun did not say anything about turning his head back. He would not run into such a problem. Xiao Chun searched the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor did indeed cultivate a demonic Dao cultivation technique. Could there be only one bridge left before him? If the veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body could reach the state of primal chaos, yin and yang, perfectly merging. Right, let's do that. However, why must I separate myself? Inside his consciousness space, Xiao Chun scattered his spiritual energy and veritable essence energy as fast as he could. The two ancient bridges in front had already started flickering endlessly. On the heaven-bridging peak, many cultivators were drenched by the rain. When the rain seeped into their skin, they discovered that their cultivation had increased slightly. The four of them condensed divine essence along the way. At this moment, the moment they attacked, the terrifying aura instantly severed the thunderclouds, and the entire heaven-span peak started trembling. Boom! A single thought from a fiend god. This fall was even worse than Chu Feng's and Bai Yunfei's. Whether or not he could survive was up to fate. Xiao Chun was overjoyed. As expected, it was like this. Good. Mu Zifeng snorted coldly and ignored Xiao Chun. He only looked at Xiao Chun, feeling confused. He still could not understand. Gu Yuhan said coldly, determination flashing in his eyes. Although he said that he was turning back, he was actually running away. How could running away solve the problem? The figure who stood up gently waved his hand. When his palm was facing the sky and his back was facing the sky, he pushed out his palm. Facing the howling wind and torrential rain, the few of them took large strides. Just as they were about to step onto the conferred God stage, they leaped up and attacked simultaneously. Divine energy that was purer and denser than Gu Yuhan's and the others surged out. As the Buddhists say, repent and you will be saved. Oh no! Now, the four, who were only a few steps away from the conferred God stage, did not dare to move rashly. Gu Yuhan's expression changed slightly. As he looked at the spiritual rain in his hand, he showed a strange expression in deep thought. What is this Xiao Chen up to? Shock flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he turned around. There were actually two bridges behind him as well, one divine bridge and one demonic bridge. That is possible. Perhaps he sensed that the four below are coming and knows that he will die for sure. So, he might as well take a gamble. Even if he did not want to, he had to choose. What cultivation did these people have? They were heaven-defying sovereign personages at the very least. When the spiritual rain entered their bodies, it actually increased their cultivation. With this thought, Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. His thoughts immediately cleared up. Xiao Chen did not get overly anxious. He continued to think calmly, thinking of a way to resolve this. Be it the ancient demonic sovereign under the blood moon on the other side of the demonic bridge, or the powerful deity sovereign under the bright moon on the other side of the divine bridge, they were all himself. Mu Yinju glanced at the conferred god stage a few steps away. Then, he said, Senior brother, this fellow's cultivation has fallen to late-stage sovereign personage. What move are you making? To think that I cannot understand it. Mu Yinju and the other two gaped at each other, unable to figure it out as well. Even if Xiao Chun had been at his peak, he would not have had any chance of victory against these four killing moves, which were formed entirely from divine energy. At best, he would have been hanging on by a thread. Strange. Even if Xiao Chun found Xiao Chen's memories of this problem, it would not be of much help. Quickly absorb it. Ha ha ha. This is even purer than origin liquid. It really is the immortal spiritual rain. Suddenly, a large amount of veritable essence energy flowed out of Xiao Chen's body, looking pure and dense. Wind blew, thunder roared, clouds moved, and rain fell. Soon, the spiritual energy that Xiao Chen gave off turned into a heavy downpour. Accompanied by lightning and thunder, it poured down with a crashing sound. Be in the future or in the past, I will only choose to be myself. No one can determine my future. As long as Xiao Chen's spiritual energy, veritable essence energy, and demonic chi veritable essence energy reach a balance. He will be able to merge his veritable essence energy into one. We can't wait any longer. No matter what tricks he plays, we just need to suppress him with strength. This is origin energy. It looked like this made sense. They might have faced a similar situation before. With a thought, a god-demon could either become a god or a demon. Outside the trial tower, the group of faux gods, including Mu Zifeng, could not understand either. Let's do it then. Now that Xiao Chan made up his mind, he no longer hesitated, turning to leave. There were many god monarchs and demonic lords in the world. However, there was only one Xiao Chan. However, the price is too high. Even jumping off the god-conferred platform would be better than this. Furthermore, look, he still has not opened his eyes. This means that he is still refining the permethought energy of the azure lamp. After living for so long, I can't even understand the actions of a junior. It was not that some people had not cultivated the permethought energy. However, in the end, they were forced to give up on one of them. Whoosh. Cultivation is not easy to come by. Who knows how many resources he exhausted and how much time he had to spend to reach his current cultivation. Why'd he scatter just like that? Gu Fei, who was laughing maniacally outside the trial tower, was stupefied. Before he finished speaking, Xiao Chan actually became a sovereign emperor, instantly turning the situation around. Is it possible that he is brewing some kind of secret technique? I know that some secret techniques will cause one's cultivation to drop when executed. The primal chaos veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body could no longer reach its initial state of balancing yin and yang, merging them into one. Now that Xiao Chan suddenly released his origin energy, he could not understand. Xiao Chan executed a horrifying killing move at the same time, instantly drowning out Xiao Chan. Gu Fei smiled and said, I think you are overthinking. Perhaps you are just stupid? The permethought energy is not that easy to refine. If you're not careful, you might end up damaging your brain. Don't you think so, Mu Zifeng? This, who would scatter the veritable essence energy that they had cultivated so painstakingly? How many years would it take to condense it? Chapter 2176. Sovereign Emperor. Divine Vein Realm, Sovereign Emperor. On the God-conferring platform, Xiao Chen's aura and the surging divine energy in his palm proved that Xiao Chan was already a bona fide Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperor. First, Xiao Chen's cultivation dropped significantly, falling from half-step Sovereign Emperor to late-stage Sovereign Personage. Then, he jumped 2 grades, directly advancing to Sovereign Emperor. Many people felt stupefied. Xiao Chen's advancement felt like a dream. Even false emperors could not advance to Sovereign Emperor in a short time. How could the bottleneck between Sovereign Personage and Sovereign Emperor be so easy to break? The Cloud Sea realm had 3 major stages: Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, and Sovereign Personage. After passing Sovereign Personage, one would break through the limits of humans and start cultivating the divine. The bottleneck between Sovereign Personage and Sovereign Emperor was from human to divine. Even the peak geniuses of the faux god world needed 1 year to comprehend before they could break through. For example, the Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, the profound Heaven Holy Sun, Chu Chaoyan, and the others who had already left the faux god world had to cultivate for 1 or 2 years before they broke through their bottlenecks. However, someone like Xiao Chan, who instantly broke through the bottleneck of a sovereign emperor, was one of kind. 1 moment ago, Xiao Chan was still a late-stage sovereign personage. In the next, he became a divine vein realm sovereign emperor, defeating Gu Yuhan and the others with a wave of his hand. Then, he soared into the sky from the god-conferring platform. He actually became a sovereign emperor. Zhang Yushan's voice trembled as he spoke in a daze. Zhang Yushan was not the only one. All the disciples of the various factions on the heaven-bridging peak were shocked. Everyone had only one goal in the faux god world: to become a sovereign emperor as soon as possible and return to the great thousand realms to show off their might. However, for most people, becoming a sovereign emperor in 10 years was an extravagant hope. Even though the faux god world's environment and fortuitous encounters were much better than the outside worlds, it was still somewhat difficult to become a sovereign emperor in 10 years. Those who could become sovereign emperors within 10 years would be heavily nurtured by their sects and factions. They would hold high positions, and their futures would be limitless. In the past, the Peach Blossom sovereign emperor had told Xiaoqun this. No matter how talented one was, if one could not become a sovereign emperor, everything would be meaningless. At the trial tower, Mu Zifeng looked at Gu Fei and said, "Brother Gu, it looks like I won this bet in the end." Gu Fei's expression was gloomy as he shouted, "I can still afford to lose, don't worry." Then he left in a hurry. He looked anxious as he flew towards Real God Hall. Everyone knew that Xiaoqun wanted to see the Holy Lord and do his best to protect Gu Yuhan and Mu Yunju's lives. These two were outstanding talents. Their strength was clear for all to see. The profound Heaven Holy Land had spent a lot of resources on these two. Dying like this would be a huge loss. The many faux gods sighed softly. No one had expected things to end like this. In the end, the Heavenly Alliance's Xiaoqun monopolized the greatest benefit of the God-conferring platform. There were many obstacles along the way. Gu Yuhan, Chu Feng, and the others did their best to monopolize it. In the end, all their efforts ended in vain. Back then, if Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei had agreed to Xiaoqun to form their own azure lamps and absorb the Permitha energy, the result might have been different. However, there were no ifs in this world. Xiaoqun absorbed 7 azure lamps, breaking the shackles of godhood and becoming a divine vein realm sovereign emperor. Did Xiaoqun really absorb only 7 azure lamps? Only Xiaoqun knew the answer. He did not absorb 7 azure lamps, but a total of 14. When the divine demon bridges merged into one, the Permitha lamps did not merge. There were 7 on each side, for a total of 14. The instant Xiaoqun refined the energy of the 14 Permitha lamps, he felt his cultivation soar. This was the first time in his life that he experienced the carefree feeling of soaring into the sky, advancing rapidly. It was truly a carefree feeling. Sovereign Emperor. Xiaoqun tightly clenched his right fist. His eyes sparkled with a sharp light as confidence welled up in him. Xiaoqun had waited for this moment for a very long time, for many years. He had not wasted his 7 years in the faux god world. Many outstanding talents ended up as sovereign personages. Since they could not become sovereign emperors, they could only waste their lives and die in sorrow. Xiaoqun finally cleared the hurdle of becoming a sovereign emperor. After glancing at the foot of the mountain, Xiaoqun shouted, "Where are the Heavenly Alliance disciples? Xiaoqun will open the way for you. Aside from my Heavenly Alliance disciples, no one else is allowed to enter the God-conferring platform." What? Damn it. What is this Xiaoqun trying to do? Why can't we go up? Because he is a sovereign emperor. If you're not convinced, just look at what happened to Gu Yuhan and the others. Ha ha ha. Xiaoqun is a sovereign emperor. Let's go. Let's see who dares to stop us now. Immediately, some people rejoiced while others grieved. Naturally, the Heavenly Alliance disciples rejoiced. Along the way in paradise, the Heavenly Alliance disciples had been bullied and humiliated. The heaven-bridging peak had also been ostracized by the other factions. The Heavenly Alliance disciples had always been at the bottom of the heaven-bridging peak. Mu Zifeng, this disciple of yours, is really arrogant. Once he gained the upper hand, he immediately became arrogant. Humph! Why doesn't he think about how pitiful he was before he came? He was even wrapped in a bedsheet to deceive others. How shameless! I thought that he was some big shot. He is only SOSO. When the other faux god powerhouses saw this scene, their expressions naturally turned unsightly. What did this mean? Xiaoqun directly chased their disciples off the god-conferring platform. All of them felt enraged. Mu Zifeng smiled and said, "Everyone is right. This Xiaoqun is really undisciplined when doing things. He is simply shameless. I'll teach him a lesson later." However, Mu Zifeng felt incredibly pleased in his heart as he laughed loudly. Indeed, this Xiaoqun did not make a mistake. This was what Xiaoqun needed to do. Even when he stood in a high position, he did not forget his status. What a bunch of fellows. Previously, when the Heavenly Alliance disciples were ostracized, he did not say a word. Serves you right for having such a day. Naturally, Xiao Chun had to thank the Heavenly Alliance for his accomplishments today. He was doing this to return the favor. Hence, he did not find anything wrong with it. After looking down the mountain, Xiao Chun entered deep thought. Then, he went to a corner of the God-conferring platform. Then, he suddenly attacked, using his own strength to block all the divine might there. Boom! Immediately, Xiao Chun forcefully opened up a fast passage on the heaven-bridging peak, which was filled with divine might. Naturally, only the Heavenly Alliance disciples could use this passage. Soon, the stronger Heavenly Alliance disciples, Wu Ming, Gongzi Lan, and Mou, climbed up the God-conferring platform one after another. They showed somewhat complicated expressions, feeling very grateful. Congratulations, Xiao Chun. You were too polite. When the Heavenly Alliance's people arrived at the summit through the fast passage, Xiao Chun smiled faintly and stopped. I'll leave the rest to the three of you to maintain order. I'm going down the mountain. Wu Ming nodded. There were many Heavenly Alliance disciples, so there had to be an order. The three also understood the rules, so they easily took on this task. Whoosh! Xiao Chun gently leaped up and directly jumped down from the summit. As Gongzilan looked at Xiao Chun's back, he sighed. Back then, he was defeated by me. In the blink of an eye, he already left me far behind. Mou said after some thought, Xiao Chun has a sense of toughness, sharpness, and pride. However, he is low-key and dependable, matching the air of the faux god world. It is simply tailor-made for him. It is not strange for him to surpass us. The three withdrew their gazes and looked at the God-conferring platform. Wu Ming said after some thought, the three of us should be able to condense an azure lamp each. Being able to obtain such a harvest is already an opportunity, right? If not for Xiao Chun, not to mention one permethal lamp, we might not even be able to reach the God-conferring platform. The three sighed in their hearts. Compared to the other super factions, even with the alloy battle armor, the Heavenly Alliance disciples were still slightly weaker. Indeed, they had to thank Xiao Chun for their current opportunity. However, there was a reason why Xiao Chun was in such a rush to leave. In the burial ground, Yuan Jun chanted scriptures, purifying the dead. A Buddhist light shone on his body as he walked among the corpses. He looked like a Buddha in the world, inspiring awe and veneration. I found it. Yuan Jun suddenly rejoiced. Then, he saw a pile of corpses turn into fireflies and scatter after being purified, revealing a dust-covered, ancient key. However, just as Yuan Jun was about to collect it, a strong aura descended from the sky. The Buddhist light that Yuan Jun originally gave off was forcibly suppressed into his body. The strong aura forced Yuan Jun to take a few steps back before he could stand stably. The ethereal Immortal Palace key? Monk Yuan Jun, why are you looking for this? Xiao Chun, who descended from the sky, grabbed the key. Then, he raised his eyebrows as he looked at Yuan Jun. Chapter 2177. An ethereal Immortal Palace key. Xiao Chun also had one, which the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave him. According to rumor, there were a total of 7 ethereal Immortal Palace keys. If one gathered all of them, one could open the ethereal Immortal Palace and take out the transcendent Great Soul tool, the Wings of Time. This Wings of Time had a great origin. It was the only transcendent Great Soul tool in the world. Back then, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor relied on this Wings of Time to defeat the unparalleled Black Dragon King. However, the world did not have much interest in the ethereal Immortal Palace, as the 7 ethereal Immortal Palace keys were scattered throughout the Great Thousand Realms. The most important one, the Inheritance Key, had been lost for a long time, its whereabouts unknown. More importantly, no one knew where the ethereal Immortal Palace was. Even if one found the key, it would be useless. Hence, Xiao Chun felt very curious. Why did Yuan Jun give up on the opportunity on the God-conferring platform? Why did Yuan Jun come to this burial ground to search for the ethereal Immortal Palace key? The instant Yuan Jun saw Xiao Chen appear, he showed an extremely stunned expression. The combination of his bald head and his shocked face looked very interesting. After stabilizing his emotions, Yuan Jun smiled and said, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out that benefactor Xiao was joking with this monk. Congratulations! Being able to obtain the opportunity of 7 azure lamps is unprecedented in paradise. After you become a sovereign emperor and leave this faux god world, your name will shake the world. Why are you looking for the ethereal Immortal Palace key?" When Yuan Jun saw that Xiao Chun did not budge, he continued to pursue the matter. After some thought, he said, "Everyone has their own secrets. Although this monk is a monk, I am no exception. Benefactor Xiao, please stop asking." Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he nodded and said, "That's fine. I won't make things difficult for you then." As Xiao Chen spoke, he tried to put the ethereal Immortal Palace key into his storage ring. Yuan Jun immediately panicked. He stepped forward and stretched out his hand to stop Xiao Chen. "Benefactor Xiao, this monk found this after much difficulty. Don't do this." Xiao Chen toyed with the ethereal Immortal Palace key for a while. Then, he smiled and said, "It belongs to whoever looks for it first. You are a monk. There is no need to be so unreasonable. Since it's in my hands, it naturally belongs to me. What's wrong with putting it into my own storage ring?" Yuan Jun frowned heavily. Then, he said sullenly, "Benefactor Xiao, we have some friendship, right? Let's not talk about the matter of the ice-fire wasteland. Let's talk about today. If this monk didn't withdraw today, I'm afraid you wouldn't have obtained such a great fortune, right?" When Xiao Chun heard this, he immediately found it funny. This monk had almost cheated him of his ice-fire lotus platform in the ice-fire wasteland, yet he still had the nerve to mention it. "As for today, if you don't fight for it, what has it got to do with me?" Xiao Chen said softly, "Let's not talk about this. Tell me, why are you looking for the ethereal Immortal Palace key? If you tell me, I can give it to you." Yuan Jun revealed a troubled expression. He said, "I cannot tell Benefactor Xiao about this now." Xiao Chun didn't make things difficult for him and said, "Then I'll keep it for you for now. When you can tell the truth, I'll give it to you." Ignoring Yuan Jun, Xiao Chun leaped into the air. His figure gradually grew weaker and eventually vanished from paradise. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he appeared outside the trial tower. He immediately noticed many gazes on him. The faux god powerhouses of the 5 super factions looked at Xiao Chun with somewhat unsightly expressions. "Xiao Chun, come over here." Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and waved at Xiao Chun. "Greetings, Lord Mu." Xiao Chun landed and performed a cupped fist salute. Mu Zifeng carefully sized up Xiao Chun. Then, he nodded and said with a smile, "Not bad. Your performance this time is pretty good. Among the rewards, I'll think about what to give you after we leave the faux god world." After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, Xiao Chun had to leave the faux god world. This trip to the faux god world came to a perfect conclusion. Xiao Chun would appear in the Great Thousand Realms as a member of the Heavenly Alliance for a long time. "Thank you, Lord Mu. How much longer can I remain in the faux god world?" 3 days. Xiao Chun thought to himself. With only 3 days remaining, he felt somewhat reluctant to leave now. The environment of the faux god world was similar to the Great Desolate Aeon, very suitable for cultivators to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chun had stayed here for 7 years. However, it felt like less than 1 year had passed in the outside world. This felt rather wondrous. Mu Zifeng said, "There's still 3 days. You should deal with your matters first. I'll take you away after 3 days." "All right. I'll take my leave first, then." "Wait up." Just at this moment, a voice containing great might rang out. The one who spoke was a Bushin Palace old man. This old man wore hemp robes and looked like an immortal. He showed a dignified expression without showing any anger. He gave off a blazing aura, looking like an inextinguishable sun. No one dared to look at him directly. Senior Jean. When Mu Zifeng saw the old man, his heart sank. He did not dare to be slow. However, Xiao Chun did not understand what was going on. This Senior Jean should be a Bushin Palace expert with the Golden Crow bloodline. However, he did not know why Senior Jean stopped him. It seemed like this person did not come with good intentions. The faux god powerhouses of the other factions showed suspicious expressions, guessing what was going on. This should be snatching Xiao Chun away. Senior Jean looked at Xiao Chun and said, Xiao Chun, someone previously told this old man that you once had a grudge with Ancestor Dragon City. Mu Zifeng felt nervous when he heard that. This was blatantly snatching Xiao Chun away. However, Xiao Qin's dragon race bloodline was real, so he could not say anything about it. Mu Zifeng's thoughts raced as he said softly, Senior Jean, Xiao Chun did indeed have a grudge with Ancestor Dragon City, which is why he left the Divine Dragon Empire. Right now, he is a free person in the Heavenly Alliance, able to come and go as he pleases. My Heavenly Alliance does not interfere with the internal conflicts of the other factions. Senior, rest assured. Senior Jean smiled and said, Little Feng, you are treating Xiao Chun like an outsider by saying that. No matter what, Xiao Chun is a Divine Dragon Empire person. He just suffered some grievances. I have a pretty good relationship with Ancestor Dragon City's old fogies. Xiao Chun, if you have any grievances, tell me. I can still help. Xiao Chun sighed in his heart. The third palace master was right. If one did not become a sovereign emperor, one was nothing. Back then, if Xiao Chun had been a sovereign emperor, there would not have been any problems with that matter in the Divine Dragon Empire. Now that Xiao Chun had become a sovereign emperor, the powerhouses of Bushin Palace would be willing to step forward and resolve the matter. Reality was really interesting. However, the grudge between Xiao Chun and the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor was not as simple as Senior Jean thought. Xiao Chun believed that the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor would give Senior Jean face. However, the dragon race also had its own faction in Bushin Palace. If Xiao Chun did not become a dragon emperor, he would just be asking for trouble by remaining in Bushin Palace. Xiao Chun said straightforwardly, Thank you for Senior's kind intentions. It is just a small matter. This junior will deal with it himself. Xiao Chun could tell that Senior Jean held a high position among the faux god powerhouses. Xiao Chen's words had humiliated this senior powerhouse. It would not be easy to face him in the future. In that case, take it as me saying too much. Senior Jean remained expressionless as he quietly withdrew, not saying anything more. Senior Jean was a senior, a powerhouse of Bushin Palace, much more important than Xiao Chun. Clearly, it was impossible for Senior Jean to persuade Xiao Chun. However, Mu Zifeng heaved a sigh of relief and said, Xiao Chun, you can withdraw first. Faux gods surrounded Xiao Chun, making him feel uncomfortable. Fearing that someone would call him again, he quickly left. Just after Xiao Chun left, the profound Heaven Holy Land's Gu Fei returned from the True God Palace. As he watched Xiao Chun leave, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Damn it! If I were still here earlier, I would have smacked that fellow to death. When Gu Fei met the Holy Lord earlier, Mu Yunzhu and Gu Yuhan were severely injured. Although they managed to survive, it was hard to say whether they could become sovereign emperors in the future. Gu Fei felt stifled in his heart, feeling very uncomfortable. Paradise's trial was more or less over. Xiao Chun had obtained the greatest benefits: 1 Thundercliff tree and 7 Permethal lamps. The remaining benefits on the God-conferring platform had to be shared with a group of people. There was nothing more to see. The faux god powerhouses of the 5 super factions shook their heads and sighed as they left one after another. Back in the burial ground, Yuan Jun played with the skulls of the dead, feeling very depressed. Screw you. Yuan Jun flew into a rage and tossed the skulls in his hand. He did not look like a monk, but more like a hooligan, appearing very ruffian. He had found the ethereal Immortal Palace key after much difficulty, but Xiao Chun snatched it away. This truly angered Yuan Jun. Furthermore, this fellow had become a sovereign emperor. Even if Yuan Jun wanted to make a move, he could not. After venting his frustration, Yuan Jun stood up and looked at the vast sea of corpses. Then, he said softly, I really cannot remain in this rundown place. I have to become a sovereign emperor as well. Huh. Yuan Jun sighed. He felt helpless when he met Xiao Chun. Chapter 2178. After leaving the trial tower, Xiao Chun immediately headed for Fiend Cloud Hall. Lu Benwei showed a faint smile. He had been waiting for a long time already. When he saw Xiao Chen arrive, he performed a cup-fist salute and said, "How do you feel about soaring up and becoming a sovereign emperor?" Xiao Chen thought for a while before replying seriously. "At first, I was very excited. When I looked at the entire paradise, I could clearly feel how insignificant the others were. However, after I left paradise and saw a group of faux god powerhouses, I no longer felt anything." Ha ha! Lu Benwei could not help guffawing when he heard that. Xiao Chen's answer was rather interesting. However, when he thought about it, he found that to be true. This was the faux god world. The faux gods that one could not meet in the great thousand realms were all gathered here. No matter what kind of accomplishments one had, one would not be able to feel proud. Xiao Chen spoke honestly. The instant he advanced to Sovereign Emperor on the God-conferring platform, he had felt hot-bloodedness surge in his body. It was like he had gained a new life. Gu Yuhan and the other three, who were originally strong opponents, were not worth mentioning in his eyes. Only when one truly became a sovereign emperor would one understand the difference between a false emperor and a true sovereign emperor. After leaving paradise, the group of faux gods looked around. This was especially so for Senior Jean, who held a high seniority. Hence, they did not have any other thoughts. Now that Xiao Chun arrived at Fiend Cloud Hall, his mental state had completely calmed down. Xiao Chun thought about how many obstacles he had faced on his path to becoming a martial emperor in the Kunlun realm. He had experienced too much and could already remain calm when facing anything. "I'm here to say goodbye, first senior brother." Xiao Chun looked at Lu Benwei. After thinking for a while, he said, "First senior brother." Lu Benwei appeared slightly stunned. Then he asked softly, "What did you call me?" "First senior brother. Although I did not become Senior Fiendish Saber's disciple, we have been together for 5 years. Although we are not master and disciple in name, our relationship has already surpassed that of ordinary master and disciple. Whether Senior Fiendish Saber recognizes me as his disciple or not, he is my master in my heart. In 3 days, he would be leaving the faux god world. There were some things that he would not have the chance to say if he did not say them now." Lu Benwei was quite pleased in his heart. He patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and said, "It's good that you have the heart. I have always treated you as my junior brother. Come, follow me to see Master. He should see you." Yes, it was as Lu Benwei said. This time, Fiendish Saber Shimu did not avoid Xiao Chun. Thump! When Xiao Chun saw Shimu seated above, he immediately knelt without saying anything. "This junior Xiao Chun will be leaving this faux god world soon. I will never forget Senior Fiendish Saber's various favors. Not to mention how much guidance he had given to Xiao Chun in the past 5 years. Just the life-saving grace a few days ago was enough for Xiao Chun to kneel towards this eccentric senior. Xiao Chen's heart had always been filled with awe and respect. This was especially so after Xiao Chun learned that Shimu came from a noble clan of swordsmen, but chose the Saber Dao. Shimu's expression was clearly stunned for a moment. However, he quickly recovered and said coldly, "I'm not your master or your parents. What is there to kneel for?" Whoosh! Right after Shimu spoke, he lifted Xiao Chen up with a palm strike, not letting him continue kneeling. Lu Benwei smiled and said, "Master, I have worked hard for you. In this trial of true God paradise, I managed to do my best." Xiao Chun was in the limelight this time, occupying 7 lamps on the God-conferring platform. This was unprecedented. Many faux gods were stunned. "This time, I am here to say goodbye to you." Shimu retorted with a serious expression. "What work? If I go out wrapped in a bedsheet, who knows how many people will laugh at me? I'm leaving?" Shimu spoke halfway when he suddenly thought of something. He revealed a melancholic expression and turned to leave. Before he left, he said, "Stay in Fiend Cloud Hall for the next 3 days. Don't go anywhere else." Xiao Chun found this somewhat strange. He still had some friends in the faux god world. It did not seem appropriate for him to stay in Fiend Cloud Hall for the last 3 days. Xiao Chun could not help glancing at Lu Benwei, hoping that the other party would say something. Who knew? Lu Benwei smiled and said, "Xiao Chun, just stay here. If you want to meet anyone, I'll bring them over." Since Lu Benwei already said that, Xiao Chun could not rebut, so he nodded slightly. The two chatted for a while. Then, Liu Binwei imparted many of his Sovereign Emperor cultivation experiences to Xiao Chun. Sovereign Emperor was just a title, not a realm. The true realm was the Divine Vein realm. However, everyone had always referred to it as Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperor. Now, the two meant the same thing. After transcending mortality, there were three major realms: Veritable Personage, Primal Core, and Cloud Sea. Each realm had three stages. At the Cloud Sea realm, there were Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, and Sovereign Personage. However, be it Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, or Sovereign Personage, they were all in the Cloud Sea realm. Above the Cloud Sea realm was the Divine Vein realm. Above the Divine Vein realm was the Supreme Faux God realm. After crossing the Cloud Sea realm, one would be considered to have broken through the limits of cultivation. When one reached the Divine Vein realm, one would start cultivating the soul. The physical body was ordinary. There were 12 meridians, 12 tendons, and so on, forming the major cycle and minor cycle. The meridians ran through the entire body. Veritable essence, energy, and spiritual energy flowed through the meridians, forming the foundation of cultivation. However, after crossing the Cloud Sea realm and transcending mortality and entering Sage realm, the physical body would undergo a rebirth. It would become an extraordinary body, the Golden Emperor body. When cultivating now, one had to open divine veins. When one opened all 9 divine veins, one would reach great perfection in the Golden Emperor body. One would have an undying body. This undying body could be reborn from just a drop of blood. Even if one's physical body was destroyed, one could reform it with just a drop of blood. Such an opportunity was already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. That was why sovereign emperors were so horrifying. After reaching the Divine Vein realm, we can no longer be called humans? Liu Binwei asked seriously to Xiao Chun. However, we're not gods. Divine Vein realm sovereign emperors are existences that exist between gods and humans. At first, Xiao Chun felt that these words sounded strange. How could anyone say that they were not human? However, after thinking about it carefully, how could anyone be reborn from just a drop of blood? How could one survive even after their head and heart were chopped off? There is a total of 9 stages in the Sovereign Emperor realm. One divine vein is one stage. With every additional divine vein, the divine energy one can condense, and the comprehension of the Tao will deepen significantly. If one gathers all 9 divine veins, one can be called a demigod. Such a person can be called a god, just short of igniting the divine flame. In reality, one could only be called a faux god. However, in this martial epoch, faux god was already the peak. It would not be wrong to call one a god. Liu Binwei continued, after reaching the Sovereign Emperor realm, one has to forget all the cultivation techniques one cultivated in the past. Divine energy is not something that one can easily drive and refine using one's cultivation techniques. Divine Vein realm cultivation techniques are extremely rare. However, now that you are in the Heavenly Alliance, you will not lack them. Xiao Chun listened quietly, not interrupting. Occasionally, he would make note of his doubts in his heart. After Liu Binwei finished, Xiao Chun voiced the questions in his heart, and Liu Binwei answered them one by one. This conversation lasted for a long time before Xiao Chun returned to his residence in Fiend Cloud Palace. The Purple Thunder Divine incantation can no longer help me cultivate. However, I have the 10,000 Dragons art, so I do not need to seek help from the Heavenly Alliance. The 10,000 Dragons art was a cultivation technique of the dragon race that had been passed down since the Great Desolate Aeon. After many epochs, it had been continuously improved. Starting today, I will formally cultivate the 10,000 Dragons art. I have to quickly condense a divine vein. Although Xiao Chun was already a sovereign emperor, he had not opened a divine vein yet. According to Liu Binwei, he was only an early-stage sovereign emperor. Xiao Chun had already converted all his veritable essence energy into divine energy. He was no longer like a false emperor. who needed to condense divine energy before he could use it. Sitting down cross-legged, Xiao Chun closed his eyes and sensed his body. The 9-star primal core in his dantian had already shattered, turning into a golden sea. There seemed to be a heart beating strongly under the sea. A vast life force poured into Xiao Chen's body. Divine energy sea. The golden divine energy turned into a vast sea. When his consciousness entered, Xiao Chun stood in it. As Xiao Chun walked on the sea, ripples appeared. Immediately, dignified Buddhist chants and ethereal immortal music appeared. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared with the ripples. However, Xiao Chun entered deep thought. When he looked up, he saw a vast sea above him. However, that sea was pitch black like ink. The black sea was filled with a tyrannical will to consume. With a thought, the world turned upside down. The place where Xiao Chen's consciousness stood turned into a pitch-black divine energy sea. When he looked up, he saw a golden divine energy sea. At the God-conferring platform, Xiao Chun had chosen the primal chaos divine bridge. Now that he was a sovereign emperor, he actually had 2 divine energy seas. This resolved Xiao Chen's worries. In the future, even if he cultivated a demonic Tao cultivation technique, as long as he did not want to, no one would be able to see his black divine energy sea. The 2 divine energy seas were one and also not one. Xiao Chun could not understand the mysteries behind them. Immortal and Buddha dual cultivation, divine and demonic as one. Xiao Chun did not know what the future would be like. After all, this was a path that no one had taken before. Chapter 2179. Master. Time passed slowly. At some point in time, a soft, cold snort came from the vast fiend mountain. Since you are not willing to say more, I will not ask. In any case, you only need to remember that you are now a formal member of the Heavenly Alliance. Although our Heavenly Alliance is not as strong as the other factions, we will not fear trouble. Many people in the faux god world were paying attention to him. Even if he knew who it would be useless. Back at Xiao Chen's residence, he showed a grave expression as he rushed back. His heart pounded heavily, unable to suppress his excitement. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not forgive him, returning the bow. The interesting thing was that Lu Benwei called Zhang Yushan and the other 2 over to send off Xiao Chen. Lu Benwei did not mind. He smiled faintly and said, "You are too polite. Take care. With Lord Mu taking care of you, there should not be any problems along the way." For hours later, the image of a dragon formed by divine energy burst out of the sea. It roared proudly in all directions, and a dragon roar rang out. However, fiendish saber Shimu did not give Xiao Chen a chance to explain. He shouted coldly and sheathed his saber. The waves scattered, and space returned to normal. That dragon image left in a fluster, feeling like it had been granted amnesty. Scram. Xiao Chen calmed his emotions and continued to circulate the 10,000 dragons art unhurriedly. The 2 chatted for a while. Then, Lu Benwei arrived late to send off Xiao Chen. Zhang Yushan felt incredibly frustrated. These 2 junior brothers are as stupid as dogs, touching my sore spot. Xiao Chen did not deny it. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Greetings, Lord Mu." After the assassination attempt failed in the Icefire Wasteland, those people still did not give up. If not for Fiend Cloud Hall, I would have died several times over the past few years. A resplendent saber light flashed above Fiend Cloud Hall. This saber light disappeared in a flash. The saber light was too fast. Even a regular sovereign emperor would not be able to see it clearly. If one was weaker, they might not even see it. Immediately, light and shadows appeared on Xiao Chen's body. Dragon might spread out, looking solid. Xiao Chun turned back to take one last look at the Holy Domain's divine capital. He could vaguely sense that someone was watching him. If it were a regular cultivation technique, even Xiao Chen's purple thunder divine incantation, refining divine energy, would be difficult. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come. Mu Zifeng asked with some surprise. Clearly, he had some understanding of Shi Mu's reputation. Only today did he suddenly realize that there was such a hidden danger. For the past 5 years, he could have lost his life at any moment. Although this Xiao Chun is not my disciple, he has, after all, stayed in this demon cloud hall for 5 years. Binwei, I have something to tell you. A silhouette dashed out with a terrifying aura that caused time and space to freeze. I am 500,000 kilometers away from Fiend Cloud Palace. A miserable shriek rang out. After a long time, Lu Binwei suddenly appeared. Then he said softly, "It is as you guessed. There are indeed foe gods receiving them from behind. They are golden dragon race experts with horrifying strength." Lu Binwei nodded and listened attentively. Damn it! Everyone saw a golden dragon image vanish. In the next moment, the owner of that figure was covered in shattered bones. Only a boundless scarlet light flew in all directions. Goodbye. I'll have to trouble you all to take care of Senior Shimu in the future. Big Brother Lu, thank you for taking care of me for the past few years. Xiao Chun had not expected the Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor to have such a relationship with this Lord Mu. This was the first time Xiao Chun used his divine energy to form a dragon roar. Now, his dragon might had an additional divine nature. Compared to before, it was like heaven and earth. Xiao Chun recited the 10,000 dragons art and slowly circulated his energy. Ripples appeared on his divine energy sea, and waves slowly rose and fell. So, he is protecting me. No wonder, this senior fiendish saber wants me to stay in Fiend Cloud Palace for the last 3 days. Unexpectedly, you have been staying in Fiend Cloud Palace for the past few years. This Shimu is famous for his strange temper. It is incredible that you can stay here even though you are not his disciple. When that dragon image scattered, fiendish saber, Shimu's face quickly aged, turning back into that of an old man. I have to make a trip to the Blue Dragon Ancient City as soon as possible. Xiao Chun lamented the danger of his situation. Without any trump cards in hand, he did not feel safe at all. When he went out to check, he would still be in the dark, not knowing anything. Xiao Chun nodded to indicate that he understood. 3 days later, Mu Zifeng arrived at Fiend Cloud Palace, preparing to bring Xiao Chun back to the Heavenly Alliance. However, this 10,000 dragons art only managed to condense one dragon image after 4 hours. The progress was simply too slow. This was a grudge between Xiao Chun and the Golden Dragon bloodline. He did not want to drag the Heavenly Alliance into it, not wanting to create too much trouble. Xiao Chun's heart skipped a beat. After thinking for a while, he did not say anything. If Xiao Chun were strong enough and followed that line of sight, he would discover a mask on that figure's face. However, based on the three's unwilling expressions, it was clear that they had to give Lu Binwei face and could not rebut. Shimu smiled coldly and said, "How is this seeking trouble? This is taking his life. This fellow is about to leave. That group of people will definitely be driven to desperate measures. If we turn a blind eye, we will be taking a risk. Scram." According to the records in the secret manual, one could only truly grasp the basics of this cultivation technique after one condensed a 10,000 dragons picture above one's divine energy sea. If not for cultivating the 10,000 dragons art and sharpening his senses, Shimu would not have been able to catch that faint light. It looks like little brother Xiao Chun has indeed offended some incredible people in the dragon race. However, Master's action this time shows Master's attitude. At the very least, no one will seek trouble for Xiao Chun for some time. This way, Shimu and Shimu were much closer. Brother Xiao Chun, take care. I wish you a bright future in the Heavenly Alliance. Shimu braced himself and said some polite words. Going to Foe God's dojo to hide was disrespectful. Any foe god would get angry. Xiao Chun could only go to the Blue Dragon Ancient City. Only there could he have a trump card to protect himself. All right. There is no need to be so polite. The Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor and I are old acquaintances. Back then, we risked our lives together. Unfortunately, he made his own choice. Otherwise, he would not be much weaker than me. You are his disciple. Although he did not ask me to take care of you, there is no need to be so distant. Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and waved his hand. A bright light flashed in Mu Zifeng's eyes. He was very meticulous, figuring out some other meaning from Lu Binwei's words. cultivating immortal and Buddha together, divine and demonic as one. This was Shao Chen's martial Tao. Come then, come with me to the Heavenly Alliance to officially confirm your identity. Humph! Shimu snarled. You are really seeking death. If it were in the past, I would definitely charge my way to Bushin Palace to seek an explanation for bullying me like this. This farewell meant that Shao Chan would be leaving the faux god world for good. He did not know when he would return. Ah, 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 Senior Fiendish Saber, spare me. This was especially so for Zhang Yushan. He felt somewhat unnatural when he saw Shao Chan. The junior brother at the side found it strange and asked, Senior brother, why do you keep touching your face? The swelling has already subsided. There is no need to be afraid. 10,000 dragons art, soaring dragons dancing, playing with the sea and clouds, diving, flying, or hiding in the depths. It encompasses all the dragons in the world, using the 10,000 dragons to soar and return to the origin, condensing the ancestor dragon's origin. The saber light recovered, and the air rippled. In an instant, it radiated for thousands of kilometers. Space seemed to surge like waves. As they surged, saber intent spread to every corner of space. After leaving Fiendish Cloud Hall, Mu Zifeng asked, Shao Chun, did you encounter anything in the faux god world? When Shao Chun thought about it, he found it somewhat terrifying. Life in the faux god world was rather peaceful and dull. In the past few years, Shao Chun had been immersed in bitter cultivation, comprehending the saber Dao domain. He could not afford to be distracted, nor did he think that he would run into any danger in Fiendish Cloud Hall. Shao Chun gave Lu Benwei a meaningful look. Then he performed a cup fist salute and bowed. Plop, plop. This 10,000 dragons art was not easy to cultivate. Shao Chun had read through any cultivation technique in the past once or twice, and he could circulate it as he pleased. He would be able to operate it freely and control it as he pleased. Shao Chun sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Then he used the 10,000 dragons art to drive the divine energy sea. The surface of the sea immediately rippled. Miserable shrieks that came from the depths of Shao Chen's soul rang out. All the fleeing scarlet light was destroyed. No wonder Big Brother Lu often cultivated outside my room in the past 5 years, nearly always by my side. They saw a handsome, demon-like young man holding a long saber in his hand. However, now that so many people were present, he could not afford to flare up. He could only follow Lu Benwei and send off Shao Chun. If Shao Chun follows me, nothing will happen. Why did Lu Benwei purposely say all that nonsense? The remaining scarlet light condensed into a golden dragon image. At this moment, that golden light was incredibly weak, looking very miserable. It turned out that this handsome, fiendish youth was Fiendish Saber Shimu. Shimu said coldly, In the past 5 years, you have been wandering around my fiendish cloud peak many times. I treated you as if you did not exist. Did you really think that I did not see you? Whoosh. Chapter 2180. The boundless starry heavens, the boundless universe. A supercontinent floated in the sky. From a distance, it looked like it was made of 7 golden shards. This supercontinent looked boundlessly vast in the starry heavens, flickering with golden light. The thousands of stars in the surroundings looked like lanterns dotting its surroundings. This was a true supercontinent. Even the stars looked incredibly insignificant before it, like the light of a firefly. What was even more exaggerated was that there seemed to be people using cauldrons to refine stars, using the flames of the stars to forge secret treasures. Occasionally, huge fireballs flickered like meteors on this vast supercontinent. One might think that they were really meteors, but in reality, they were just sparks shot out by blacksmiths during forging. At first glance, the enormous artifact cauldrons were like mountains that stood tall and straight, unending and rising and falling indeterminately. If one had good eyesight, one would be able to count a total of 9,800 cauldrons. These cauldrons lined up on this supercontinent, looking like a coiled ancient dragon. The flames in the cauldrons flickered like day and night alternating. However, this was just the tip of the iceberg on this supercontinent. There were also boundless herb fields and medicine cauldrons belonging to alchemists in the herb fields. Aside from refining alchemy and refining blacksmiths, which were the two industries most closely related to cultivators, there were also many other industries. On this supercontinent, everything related to food, clothing, housing, and transportation, everything related to business, could be seen. You could see a grand scene that would make you gasp in amazement. Various major trades intersected with each other, densely packed like ants occupying this supercontinent. However, everything was orderly, busy, but not chaotic. It was like an invisible hand was controlling everything. This was the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Even though Xiao Chun had seen it from afar before, he still felt incredibly shocked when he saw it again on Mu Zifeng's alloy warship. The alloy warship flew over the Heavenly Alliance's supercontinent, heading for the center. Along the way, the many sceneries that Xiao Chun saw left a deep impression on him. Given the alloy warship's startling speed, they flew for half a day before arriving at the center of this supercontinent. There was a sea of clouds there. The floating white clouds looked solid. Many buildings stood on the white clouds, looking very strange. Heaven outside. Xiao Chun followed Mu Zifeng down and arrived above the white clouds. Soon, he saw a towering mountain gate with the ancient words Heaven Outside written on it. After you enter this gate, you will enter the core of the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Come, I'll bring you in. Mu Zifeng led Xiao Chun in, feeling familiar with the place. Along the way, Mu Zifeng performed a cup fist salute, not daring to ask. Now, the Heaven Alliance is a very complicated organization, and its internal power is in a mess. However, to put it simply, the Heavenly Alliance members, exist to protect the interests of the merchant associations under the Heavenly Alliance. You should know that the Heavenly Alliance members exist in 1,000 great realms. As long as there are cultivators, there will be merchant associations controlled by the Heavenly Alliance. However, as long as there are benefits, there will be disputes. We are responsible for resolving disputes. As Mu Zifeng walked, he explained the Heavenly Alliance's internal structure to Xiao Chun. These were things one needed to know to join the Heavenly Alliance. As Heavenly Alliance members, we have nothing to do with those merchant associations. As Mu Zifeng walked, he explained the Heavenly Alliance's internal structure to Xiao Chun. However, you have to remember that the Heavenly Alliance is the Heavenly Alliance, and the merchant associations are the merchant associations. Now, we are members of the Heavenly Alliance and have nothing to do with those merchant associations. Even Mu Zifeng felt slightly stunned when he heard that. However, he did not say anything about it. It was more or less the same as what the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said. Even Mu Zifeng had to make this clear to Xiao Chun. As for you, I believe that you are about the same as the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. You will not have too many thoughts about authority. In fact, you might not even be able to stay in the Heavenly Alliance for long. In that case, you have even less to worry about. Mu Zifeng seemed to be speaking casually. Xiao Chun did not comment, but he did not object. You want to use the Heavenly Alliance's resources to advance your own martial Tao. There are many cultivators like you in the Heavenly Alliance, so you don't have to think too much. The Heavenly Alliance will not give you resources for nothing, nor will it let you work for nothing. Everyone is mutually beneficial. Using each other? Mu Zifeng did not say it out loud. Instead, he changed it to mutually beneficial. Xiao Chun remained indifferent, not paying much attention to this. In the end, this was a super faction established by the merchant associations. Compared to a sect, the Heavenly Alliance lacked a spiritual inheritance, making it hard to integrate. What I need to do in the Heavenly Alliance? Xiao Chun asked. He saw many people coming and going in heaven outside of heaven. However, they came and went in a hurry, not conversing much with each other, appearing somewhat cold. Mu Zifeng smiled and said, "The Heavenly Alliance has endless problems to deal with. You are new here, so you will have to work harder. Take out your Heavenly Alliance medallion." As promised, Xiao Chun took out the medallion. The back of the medallion showed a vast snowy scene with an indistinct 8-petal plum blossom in the snowy scene. Only one petal lit up. Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and extended his hand. Then another petal lit up. After lighting up one petal, you are considered a probationary member. After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, you are a formal member and can light up too. In the Heavenly Alliance, you are considered the lowest ranked member. Before you light up 3-petal, you can only remain in heaven outside of heaven, unable to go anywhere. Mu Zifeng's next words made Xiao Qin's expression change slightly in confusion. How do I light up 3-petal? Contribution. You have to work for the Heavenly Alliance and deal with the Heavenly Alliance's problems. The amount of contribution you obtain depends on the size of the problem. After lighting up 3-petal, you can go in and out freely. However, you still cannot leave the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Only after lighting up 4-petal are you truly free. At that time, you can choose to remain in the Heavenly Alliance or leave. Mu Zifeng said after some thought, back then, the Peach Blossom's Sovereign Emperor entered the Heavenly Alliance with me. After he lit up 4-petal, he chose to leave, becoming an 8-vein Sovereign Emperor. I chose to stay, so you can see that I am now a Cordoyan 7-petal Plum Blossom, a 9-vein Sovereign Emperor half-god. Xiao Chun entered deep thought. Mu Zifeng's words were a hint to Xiao Chun. If Xiao Chun chose to stay and continue climbing the ranks to enter the Heavenly Alliance's core, he would gain even greater benefits. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor chose to leave. Now, he was only an 8-vein Sovereign Emperor. However, Xiao Chun was already a 9-vein Sovereign Emperor, a half-god. The two chatted as they walked. Xiao Chun gained a rough understanding of the members who lit up only 2-petal. They did not have much authority in the Heavenly Alliance, only duties. This place had a strict hierarchy and strict order. The higher-ranked members had overwhelming privileges over the lower-ranked members. This was a form of motivation for the Heavenly Alliance's members to work hard to deal with the Heavenly Alliance's problems and raise their status. As for contribution, it was similar to the Sex Mission Hall. However, in the Heavenly Alliance, one did not have much authority to refuse or choose. The 2-petal members could not even choose their own missions. The Heavenly Alliance had to make arrangements for them. No matter what the mission was, one did not have the authority to refuse. If one completed it, one would be rewarded. If one failed, one would be punished, losing contribution points. As Xiao Qin spoke, he suddenly felt the divine energy sea in his body stir for some reason. Xiao Qin's divine energy sea surged, and his entire body felt indescribably carefree. A great temptation drew him. This is, Xiao Chun muttered as he looked at a towering mountain in front. The temptation came from this mountain. To think that there was a mountain above the cloud sea. This was a spiritual mountain that contained divinity. The higher one went, the stronger the divinity. One could even see faint divine light overflowing from the shining mountain. At the peak of the mountain, the divine light was so bright that it was somewhat dazzling. This is the Heavenly Divine Mountain. The Heavenly Alliance gathered boundless resources to build this divine mountain. There are boundless benefits for a divine vein realm sovereign emperor to cultivate on this mountain. However, you can only stay at the foot of the mountain now and cannot climb it. Mu Zifeng explained softly. After arriving at the foot of the divine mountain, Mu Zifeng got someone to arrange a residence for Xiao Chun. Then, he said, "You can stay here first. You can walk around more when you have time. There are no forbidden lands in this heaven beyond heaven. I'll take my leave first. Lord Mu, take care." Xiao Chun turned his head and looked at his residence. Then, he nodded slightly, feeling satisfied. "Young Master Xiao, do you have any instructions?" As Mu Zifeng had personally brought Xiao Chun over, the old man responsible for the handover did not dare to slight him. Xiao Chun shook his head and said no. "All right, I'll go and arrange for servants for young Master Xiao. If you have any instructions in the future, you can come and look for this old man at any time." The gray-clad old man performed a cupped fist salute and took his leave. Arranging for servants is probably a form of monitoring. Xiao Chun sighed in his heart. The Heavenly Alliance is colder than I thought. However, this is understandable. They are not related. How can it be that easy to obtain resources? After entering the residence, Xiao Chun wandered around. This place was much better than his residence in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Aside from the necessities for cultivation, there were all sorts of facilities. This was simply a noble residence. There was even a spirit beast pavilion with all sorts of spirit beasts. After Xiao Chun wandered around, the old man's servants arrived at the entrance of the residence. The leader was a pretty maidservant. Many male and female servants followed behind her, all of them kneeling respectfully. These servants even had all sorts of items placed on top of their heads. Young master, this servant Bao will be responsible for young master's daily life in the Heavenly Alliance. What is your name? This servant is Bao The pretty maidservant replied softly, feeling somewhat bashful. When Xiao Chun heard that, he became somewhat distracted. Bao Long ago, he had a maidservant called Bao as well. After that, he did not have another maidservant. This was truly a distant memory. Young master? Bao asked, finding it strange when she saw Xiao Chun in a daze. Xiao Chun recovered his wits and said softly, I am older than you. Just call me Big Brother Xiao. There is no need to address me as master. All right, Big Brother Xiao. If there are any areas of this residence that require improvement, I'll get the servants to design them for you. Xiao Chun waved his hand and said, There's no need. Let them in first. They just have to help me tidy up. All right. As the group of servants entered in a single file, Xiao Chun looked around, trying to find the eyes and ears of the Heavenly Alliance. However, after thinking about it, he chose to give up. So what if he found them? If he kept his guard up, he might end up attracting more attention. At that time, he would be even more problematic. Chapter 2181. Under Bao's arrangements, the group quickly cleaned up the residence. To Xiao Chun, the residence was already very clean. However, after this cleaning, it actually looked brighter. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it looked brand new. The flowers and grass were trimmed, the walls and doors were repainted, and incense lamps were lit in the room. Wherever one went, one could smell a fresh fragrance, making one feel refreshed. Xiao Chun sighed. Having servants and not having servants were indeed two different living environments. Big Brother Xiao, I have cleaned up the entire residence for you. This herb field has not been developed yet. If you have natural treasures or other spirit herbs, you can replant them here or go to a shop to buy the seeds you need. There are apothecary disciples among the servants who specialize in this. There will also be professionals taking care of those spirit beasts. I guarantee that they will not suffer any losses. Bao bowed slightly and asked, Is Big Brother Xiao satisfied? When Xiao Chun heard that, he entered deep thought. He could put the herb field aside for now. After all, he was not an alchemist. He did not cultivate cultivation techniques that required natural treasures. However, he could think about the spirit beast first. Xiao Chun had not had the time to take care of the demon blood vulture, basically letting it roam. With professionals taking care of it, it should be better. Who is in charge of rearing the spirit beasts? Xiao Chun asked, and an old man immediately appeared. He knelt before Xiao Chun and said, Little master, this old servant is in charge of the spirit beasts. Just call me Elder Lu. Master, what instructions do you have? Whoosh! A flash of red light appeared, and the demon blood vulture appeared on Xiao Chun's shoulder. Its wings were scarlet, glistening, and exceptionally beautiful. Do you recognize this bird? Elder Lu's eyes lit up as he answered. This is a demon blood vulture. Rumor has it that it lives in the ash-gray sea, one of the 7 great forbidden seas. Its race is isolated from the rest of the world and hard to capture. It feeds on demonic nature and can consume any demonic nature in the world, growing infinitely. If one can activate its bloodline and feed its spirit blood fruits, it might even be able to recover its ancestral blood and become a great desolate ferocious beast, the Blood Phoenix. Master, this demon blood vulture is incredible. Its eyes are golden. It must have an extremely noble bloodline in the demon blood vulture race. What's even rarer is that his bloodline seems to have mutated. there's a very good chance that he'll become a blood phoenix. He, of course, my father, is the blood vulture king. How can my bloodline not be noble? This old man has good eyesight. I can let him serve me. The demon blood vulture's cocky voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. Ignoring it, Xiao Chun sized up the old man and was surprised. He really knew a lot. There were many things that he had never heard of before. However, he still had to continue experimenting. Then, do you know how to nurture the demon blood vulture? Senior Lu smiled and said, this old servant grew up in the beast taming abode. I spent all my time raising 9,000 kinds of spirit beasts and demonic pets in the world. Although I have never raised a demon blood vulture before, I still know the method. At the side, Bao said softly, Big brother Xiao, this Uncle Lu is a treasure. Xiao Chun once nurtured an underworld ghost bird into a 9-vein, sovereign emperor mutated beast. He was one of the top beast tamers in the Heavenly Alliance. If it wasn't for Lord Mu's order, he wouldn't have come with me. Xiao Chun raised his eyebrows and said softly, my eyesight is poor. I could not tell that Senior Lu was so capable. Sorry for the disrespect. No one in the Heavenly Alliance can be underestimated. What about you? Xiao Chun turned his head to look at Bao and asked her, changing the topic. Bao's expression did not change. She smiled mischievously and said, how can I be capable? I'm just a maid who helps big brother Xiao dress and make his bed, serve tea, and pour water. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and did not pursue the matter. He continued, Senior Lu, tell me how to raise this demon blood vulture. Senior Lu nodded and said, that will depend on how much resources Master gives me. If there are enough resources, I will definitely feed it demonic spirit fruits every day and bring it to the blood prison once every half a month. Then, I will go to the Spirit Beast Palace to exchange for cultivation techniques and martial techniques for demonic pets. This will also depend on how Master raises it. You can raise it in all aspects or focus on one attribute, like speed, killing intent, or devouring. The demon blood vulture is a rather well-rounded demonic pet. You can raise it however you want. It will depend on Master's preferences. Xiao Chun thought for a while. This Senior Lu is really knowledgeable. He asked in his heart, Demon blood vulture, are you willing to follow me? Hee, I'm already drooling, the answer went without saying. Xiao Chun said, from today on, you'll be in charge of raising the demon blood vulture. Don't be stingy with resources. May I ask, what is the currency used for transactions in the Heavenly Alliance? Bao replied softly, any currency in the Heavenly Alliance will do. After all, we're doing business. Spirit jades, primeval heavenly pills, origin liquid, and divine crystals will do. However, we usually use origin liquid. Xiao Chun entered deep thought. Then, he took out the primeval heavenly pills in his storage ring and the 10,000-year-old herb kings he obtained in paradise and handed them to Bao. Help me exchange them for origin liquid. From today on, you'll be in charge of all the expenses in the residence. The amount that Xiao Chun took out was a huge sum, especially the 10,000-year-old herb kings. Originally, Xiao Chun intended to use these herb kings for himself. However, there was no point in using them after refining the Thundercliff tree. When Bao received all this, she did not feel shocked at all. Xiao Chun sighed in his heart. Even the servants of the Heavenly Alliance are servants who have seen the world. Big brother Xiao, thank you for your trust. I will help young Master settle this matter within half a day. After Bao counted the items, she agreed without hesitation. In that case, you all can withdraw first. I need a rest for a while. All right. After the group took their leave, Xiao Chun went to a medicinal spring in the residence alone. The spring water surged, and spiritual energy spread everywhere. This was a medicinal spring that the Heavenly Alliance's alchemists specially refined for sovereign emperors. After soaking in it, one could eliminate fatigue, nourish one's mind, and remove hidden injuries. If one spent some origin liquid, one could add medicinal pills to aid one's cultivation. The warm spring water made Xiao Chun feel exceptionally comfortable as he soaked in it. After he closed his eyes, he actually felt drowsy. After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, cultivators basically did not need to sleep. In fact, they found it very difficult to sleep. If one wanted to rest, one only needed to enter a meditative state. However, falling asleep would be somewhat difficult. Many people even found it impossible to fall asleep. Their spiritual sense would remain somewhat awake. However, in reality, sleep was the best nourishment for sovereign emperors. It was even beneficial to cultivation. There should be spirit herbs for calming the mind in the medicinal spring. Otherwise, it would not be so effective. Xiao Chan did not reject this drowsiness, so he fell asleep. When he woke up, Xiao Chan felt refreshed and full of energy. He looked around and discovered that Bao was already standing across from him, holding a white towel in her hand. Mist wafted out. When looking at Bao, who was not far away, he felt like he was looking at flowers in the mist, a hazy yet intense sense of beauty. Splash! Splash! Bao stood up and splashed the spring water. Then, she walked over and wiped down Xiao Chen's body, then helped him put on his clothes. Xiao Chan did not want to stand out in the Heavenly Alliance. Furthermore, he had nothing else on his mind, so he did not avoid these things and did not refuse. Bao found this somewhat strange. Unexpectedly, there were many scars on Xiao Chen's body. They were not as clean as his delicate facial features. Some of the scars even layered over each other. The crisscrossing scars all over his body looked somewhat sinister and scary. When Bao finished helping Xiao Chan put on his clothes, she still felt somewhat unsettled. How long was I asleep? Big brother Xiao happened to have slept for a night. I have already completed the task that you instructed me to do yesterday. I exchanged for a total of 50 tons of origin liquid. I gave old Lu half, and the rest is with me. Does young master need it? Not for now. Keep it for me first. Xiao Chun still had 25 tons of origin liquid on him. That was sufficient for regular cultivation. However, he had not opened his first divine vein yet, so he did not need so much origin liquid. All right. After hesitating for a while, Bauer said, Young master had best not cultivate for now. You can continue resting. When the Heavenly Alliance's missions come, you might not have time to rest. I'll listen to you. Hence, aside from occasionally cultivating, Xiao Chun spent the rest of his time wandering around the residence. The residence was very large. There were several places that Xiao Chun had not explored. Now was an opportunity. Only 2 days passed peacefully. Then, Xiao Chen's first mission in the Heavenly Alliance arrived. A black-clad administrator hovered above Xiao Chen's residence and said, Heavenly Alliance 2-petal member Xiao Chun, heed my orders. A local sect elder in the Ink Sea cluster is advancing to Sovereign Emperor, threatening the Merchant Association's interests. I order you to go and deal with this problem for the Alliance within 10 days. Otherwise, you will fail the mission, and you will be severely punished. Whoosh! A jade strip fell. Xiao Qin stretched out his hand and caught the jade strip. Then, he placed it on his forehead and checked it, gaining a rough understanding of the situation. Big brother Xiao, should I get old Lu to call the demon blood vulture over? Bauer asked. There's no need. The demon blood vulture is in the early stages of nurturing and is not suited for battle. Help me take care of the residents. Xiao Qin's figure flashed, and he followed the administrator to the Heavenly Alliance's Dao platform. Chapter 2182. The Constellation Zone referred to the Constellation Zone. In the Great Thousand Worlds, there was a sea of stars at the center of many star fields, and then they were named after the sea. For example, the Grave Sea cluster that Xiao Chan once stayed in. The various cluster zones were now like stars surrounding the moon, surrounding the Central Great Realm. The outer regions that the Central Great World cultivators spoke of mostly referred to these cluster zones. In the eyes of the Central Great World cultivators, the outer regions were like the countryside. Apart from some special clusters in the outer Endless Sea, most of the outer Endless Sea clusters didn't have enough connate spiritual qi, and the inheritances weren't complete enough, so the competition wasn't fierce enough. It was very difficult for an imperial lord to be born. As a sovereign personage, one could dominate the outer seas and enjoy the treatment of the Central Great Realm's foe gods. The grave sea cluster that Xiao Qian once stayed in was like this. On the surface, it did not have a single sovereign personage. Perhaps only some rank 4 sects had sovereign personages nearing the end of their lifespans. Normally, such sovereign personages would not appear. The Ink Sea cluster was much stronger than the Grave Sea cluster. It had 2 rank 5 sects, and the sect masters were sovereign personages. Many of the supreme elders were heaven-defying sovereign personages and even false emperors. However, in the past 1,000 years, there had never been an imperial lord. The various factions maintained a delicate balance, but now, a rank 1 sect had an imperial lord. This was incredible. Xiao Qian was very clear about how strong a sovereign emperor was. In front of a sovereign emperor would only need 1 move to kill a sovereign emperor. No matter how many powerful trump cards one had, it would be useless. Even if one had a soul tool, it would only be a slight deterrent. If one side suddenly became stronger, the balance would be broken, and the original distribution of benefits would naturally need to be reshuffled. Xiao Qian was going to the Ink Sea cluster to protect the benefits of the Heavenly Alliance's subsidiary merchant associations. He could not give up his own benefits just because the other party had a sovereign emperor. The mission did not specify a specific solution. He could choose to kill this newly advanced imperial lord or negotiate with him. There were many methods, but there was only one goal: to ensure the benefits of the Heavenly Alliance's affiliated merchant associations. The better this task was done, the higher the merit would be. Otherwise, there would be punishment. Using the Dao platform at Sky Beyond Heaven, Xiao Qian teleported to a Dao platform near the Ink Sea cluster. This Dao platform belonged to everyone, not the Heavenly Alliance alone. By the time Xiao Qian set foot on the Ink Sea, half a day had passed. Xiao Qian clearly sensed the difference between the spiritual energy of this place and the Central Great Realm's spiritual energy. 9 Cauldron Pavilion. The Heavenly Alliance's subsidiary merchant association here was the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. When Xiao Qian thought about it, he felt that he had some fate with the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. If he remembered correctly, he had a VIP card in the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. Let's go to the 9 Cauldron Pavilion's headquarters in the Ink Sea first. The Starry Sea possessed a great gravitational pull. If one was not careful, they would be sucked in. The Starry Sea possessed a corrosive nature. If one's cultivation was not high enough, falling into it would be life-threatening. Xiao Qian recalled that when they first arrived at the Grave Sea, Xiao Qian and Xiao Sua's group had been very careful, not daring to let down their guard at all. Now that Xiao Qian was a sovereign emperor, he did not need to worry too much. He turned into a bolt of lightning above the Ink Sea, piercing through the clouds without fear. 2 hours later, an island that could be called a continent appeared in front of Xiao Qian. This was the largest island in the Ink Sea, Red Cloud Island. The headquarters of the 9 Cauldron Pavilion was there. Normally speaking, since it was called Red Cloud Island, the largest city on the island would be called Red Cloud City. Red Cloud Island was not surprised. As Xiao Qian swaggered into the city, none of the guards or experts in the city noticed him. Hovering in the air, Xiao Qian swept his gaze around, spreading his spiritual sense to every corner of the city. In the next moment, his figure flashed, leaving behind a faint purple mark. When he reappeared, he was already at the entrance of the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. The 9 Cauldron Pavilion was tall and majestic, occupying the best location. However, the entrance was somewhat deserted. This did not match the reputation of the top merchant association in the Ink Sea. Xiao Qian guessed something and directly entered. "This young master, are you here by something?" Upon seeing Xiao Qian appear, a pretty maidservant with a faint smile immediately came forward to greet him. "Long Yun, withdraw. I'll take care of this guest." Before Xiao Qian could answer, a spirited old man in embroidered robes with a flushed complexion walked out of the hall staircase. The maidservant gave Xiao Qian a strange look before withdrawing. However, she could not understand why the pavilion master would personally receive a youth. "This old man's family name is Qin, and my first name is Pa. May I ask for young master's great name?" The embroidered-robed old man said to Xiao Qian with a smile as he walked down. Whoosh! This old man must have figured something out. Xiao Qian did not bother speaking nonsense with him. He flashed his Heavenly Alliance medallion in front of the old man. Qin Po's expression did not change. He said seriously, "Young master, please come with me." When Xiaoqin arrived at the private room at the top floor, Qin Po's expression changed drastically. He performed an incredibly respectful cupped fist salute and said, "Greetings, my lord. I did not want to attract attention earlier, so I did not greet you properly. My lord, please forgive me." Xiao Chan sat on a mahogany chair with a calm expression, indicating that he did not mind. He said softly, "Xiao Chun, Grasshead Xiao, morning Sunday. I did not like to speak nonsense, so please do your best to give a simple introduction of the situation. I will deal with you within 10 days. Very well, my lord." Qin Po was very careful, not daring to be slow. This was a major character from the Heavenly Alliance. He could not afford to offend him. Even though Qin Po had seen many major scenes, he still felt somewhat nervous. After calming himself, he said, "The Ink Sea has 2 rank 5 sects, the Flying Cloud sect and the Azure Smoke Pavilion. 2 years ago, the Azure Smoke Pavilion Supreme Elder, Qinyan Shangren, advanced to Sovereign Emperor. Half a year after that, the Azure Smoke Pavilion took 70% of the Ink Sea's resources. The other factions shared the remaining 30%. The Azure Smoke Pavilion has always done business with our merchant association. In the past, we earned 70%, and they earned 30%. After Qinyan Shangren advanced to Sovereign Emperor, he demanded an exorbitant price. To think that he wanted us to take only 2%, while they wanted 80%. Xiao Chun entered deep thought. The Ink Sea's resources were definitely in the hands of the sections. However, if the sects wanted to develop, they needed to work with the Merchant Association to maximize the benefits of the resources. This could be considered mutually benefiting, helping each other out. There were many ways to do this. However, it was very simple. It was just that whoever was stronger would benefit more. In the past, when the various factions interfered, the 9 Cauldron Pavilion could gain 70% of the profits. However, the situation changed now. The Azure Smoke Pavilion produced a Sovereign Emperor. The 9 Cauldron Pavilion could not gain any advantage, even getting bullied. There was no need to probe too deeply into the business matters. They had nothing to do with him. Xiaoqin grasped the main point. He asked seriously, "He advanced to Sovereign Emperor 2 years ago?" "Yes. I reported this matter to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters 2 years ago. However, we never received any attention," Qin Po said helplessly. Xiaoqin thought to himself, "It is not that we do not pay attention. It is just that we do not have enough manpower." Continue, right? He wanted 80% of the profits. Naturally, we refused. After that, the Azure Smoke Pavilion stopped doing business with us. Instead, they supported a small merchant association and secretly suppressed us. For the past 2 years, we have nearly lost all of our business. You saw how bleak our business is now. Xiao Chun felt doubtful. How can a small merchant association compare to the 9 Cauldron Pavilion? The 9 Cauldron Pavilion had branches in the central Great Realm. In terms of strength and accumulations, a small merchant association could not compare to it. In a fair competition, the 9 Cauldron Pavilion could take out more secret treasures, medicinal pills, cultivation techniques, and martial techniques than the other merchant associations. Qin Po smiled bitterly. With the Azure Smoke Pavilion secretly supporting us, we cannot do business at all. The Merchant Association's cargo ships responsible for transporting resources have even been robbed a few times. During this period, they have been openly suppressing us. Several of my 9 Cauldron Pavilion's guards died. Qinyan Shangren has already spread the word that all Azure Smoke Pavilion disciples are not allowed to do business with my 9 Cauldron Pavilion. On the surface, it looked like Qinyan Shangren forbade the Azure Smoke Pavilion disciple from doing business with my 9 Cauldron Pavilion. In reality, it was a warning to all the cultivators in the Ink Sea. Who in the Ink Sea would dare to offend a sovereign emperor? Xiao Cheng grasped the key point again. He asked seriously, "He killed people from the 9 Cauldron Pavilion?" "Yes. With the Azure Smoke Pavilion supporting us, the other party does not have to worry." Xiao Chen said calmly, "That's easy. What is that merchant association called?" Qin Po did not understand what Xiao Chen meant, but he still answered honestly. In the past, it was called the Red Cloud Merchant Association. Now, it is called the Tin Cauldron Pavilion. When Xiao Chan mentioned the name of the other party's merchant association, Qin Po's expression turned even more unsightly. This name was a direct slap in the face. You have 9, and I have 10. This high-profile name is meant to suppress you. Is that Merchant Association's association chief in Red Cloud City? He has always been. Right after Qin Po spoke, he looked up and saw that Xiao Chan had already disappeared from his chair. The curtains fluttered a few times, indicating that someone had just left. How fast? This startled Qin Po. However, after he sat down, he felt somewhat uneasy. This Xiao Chan was simply too young. Xiao Chen's cold attitude also made Qin Po feel somewhat unreliable. He muttered to himself, "The Heavenly Alliance has not sent anyone for more than 2 years. Now that someone finally came, they sent a rash youth." Dang! Qin Po did not see any commotion, but Xiao Chan appeared before him again. Qin Po raised his head and spat out all the tea in his mouth. Xiao Chan held a head in his hand. It belonged to the head of the Red Cloud Merchant Association's association chief, whom Qin Po wished he could hack into 1,000 pieces. The other party appeared stunned. Based on his expression, he probably did not even know how he died. If Qin Po recalled correctly, this fellow was a holy venerate and had the protection of a heaven-defying sovereign personage from the Azure Smoke Pavilion. How'd he die just like that? How'd he do it? Before Qin Po could even warm his seat or drink his tea, Xiao Chen returned after killing someone. Qin Po could not help feeling fear in his heart. He quickly stood up and said in a trembling voice, "My lord, I killed the person and demolished the Tin Cauldron Pavilion. Make your preparations. Business should be here in the next 2 days." Xiao Chan said indifferently. His expression remained calm, as if he had just done something unremarkable. However, killing a holy venerate before a heaven-defying sovereign personage was indeed an insignificant matter. However, Qin Po was already frightened silly. He said in a trembling voice, I'll go and make my preparations. This little one will take his leave first." "Wait a moment." Qin Po immediately asked in a fluster, "My lord, what instructions do you have?" "Send this head to the Azure Smoke Pavilion as quickly as possible." Qin Po immediately felt startled. "My lord, you're provoking Qing Yin Shangren. You have to think this through. Just do as I say. Why so much nonsense?" Xiao Chan frowned slightly. Qin Po's words made it sound like he should not provoke the other party. However, when Xiao Chan thought about how the other party had been suppressed for a long time, it was understandable that he feared Qing Yin Shangren. Xiao Chan softened his tone and said softly, "I want to provoke him. The faster I deal with this problem, the more contribution I will obtain, and the more benefits your 9 Cauldron Pavilion will obtain." Yes. I'll do it now." Qin Po immediately felt somewhat excited. This little lord's temper and boldness were really great. It looked like the 9 Cauldron Pavilion was going to turn things around. Chapter 2183. Ink Sea, Heavenly Cloud Mountain, one of the 3 blessed lands. A blessed land should have many sects, just like the Purple Flame sect, where Xiao Chen once stayed, which was just one sect in the Blessed Land. However, this Ink Sea's Heavenly Cloud Mountain only had one sect, the Azure Smoke sect. The reason went without saying. Since a sovereign emperor appeared in the Azure Smoke sect, the Azure Smoke sect naturally wanted to monopolize all the benefits of this great blessed land. Disagree? If one dared to disagree before a sovereign emperor, it would be no different from seeking death. Right now, the Azure Smoke sect lived up to its name in the Ink Sea. No one dared to oppose it. The sect disciples were even more arrogant and despotic, considering everyone else beneath them. In the Ink Sea, no one dared to offend them. In an era when sovereign emperors did not appear, even the strongest false emperor could not be so domineering. After all, a rank 5 sect had a soul tool. Even a false emperor had to fear them. Everyone coexisted peacefully, living in harmony. However, now that a sovereign emperor appeared, a soul tool in the hands of sovereign emperor and a sovereign personage were 2 different secret treasures. The might that a soul tool could bring out was completely different. In the hands of sovereign emperor, the horrifying might of a soul tool could truly be brought out. In this ink sea, a sovereign emperor was a supreme god. But tonight, there was something wrong with the Azure Smoke sect. A rumor had spread through the entire sect, from top to bottom, from the mouth of all the disciples and elders. Did you hear? Someone killed the 10 Cauldron Merchant Association's association chief. His head was delivered to our sect master last night. How could I not have heard about it? That fellow's death was really strange. He was not weak in the first place, and he had Marshal Grand Uncle John's protection. However, he died just like that. Someone saw Marshal Uncle John return last night. I heard that he was pale and dispirited, like he was scared silly. Who exactly is it? To think that he dares to provoke us. Does he not know that our Azure Smoke sect's ancestor is already a sovereign emperor? This is the most horrifying thing. He clearly knows that you are a sovereign emperor, yet he still dares to kill your people. The rumors were hard to stop. The 10 Cauldron Merchant Association's association chief was killed, and the entire Merchant Association's headquarters was torn down on the street. This was an earth-shattering matter in the Ink Sea. The various major factions received the news at the fastest time. The other factions had already received the news. It would be hard for the Azure Smoke sect disciples not to know about it. At this moment, the sect master and all the elders gathered in the Azure Smoke sect's ancestral hall at the main peak of Sky Cloud Mountain. Their expressions were incomparably grave as they looked at the items placed in the center of the hall in silence. That object was the head of the 10 Cauldron Chamber of Commerce's president. After the group of people received the heads, they discussed for an entire night, but they still couldn't come up with any ideas. The Azure Smoke sect's sect master, Luo Yun, did not look old, like a middle-aged man. He was dressed in a long green robe and had a scholarly temperament. There was a sharp aura hidden between his brows. That was the foundation of an overlord. Everyone, we've discussed for an entire night, but we still haven't come up with a good idea? Luo Yun glanced at the elders gathered in the ancestral hall and said in a deep voice, there were not many elders. However, even the weakest was a holy venerate. 4 or 5 of the older ones were even sovereign personages. The Azure Smoke sect's entire foundation was here. Even without Qingyan Shangren, the Azure Smoke sect could be considered a peak existence among rank 5 sections. Those who could stand here naturally had some vision. They could tell that this was not a simple murder. Before a heaven-defying person died, Xiao Chun had silently killed another sovereign personage. Everyone was very clear on what kind of strength one needed to achieve this. This was especially so for that Marshal Uncle Jiang. After he returned, he looked like he had seen a ghost. Clearly, he had suffered a huge trauma in his heart. A false emperor could not make Marshal Uncle Jiang feel such fear. What kind of existence was above false emperor? No one dared to think about it, nor did they want to. They could only continue playing dumb when faced with Luo Yun's question. This is indeed making things difficult for everyone. Luo Yunling, who was sitting on the throne, let out a soft sigh. There was a trace of exhaustion on his face. Originally, Marshal Uncle Qingyan should have been in charge of this matter. Unfortunately, Qingyan Shangren was currently in closed-door cultivation. Even when Luo Yun summoned him several times, he ignored him. Naturally, there was no solution to this difficult problem before everyone. Actually, Luo Yun guessed something. As the sect master of a rank 5 sect, he naturally knew some of the secrets of the Central Great Realm. Several thousand years ago, a sovereign emperor had appeared in the Ink Sea cluster. However, that sovereign emperor did not unify the Ink Sea. There seemed to be an invisible hand controlling the Ink Sea's movements in the unseen world. This kept the various factions of the Ink Sea in balance, preventing one faction from becoming too strong and monopolizing the Ink Sea. Even though Marshal Uncle Qingyan had become a sovereign emperor, Luo Yun did not want to drive the other factions to the edge. He feared that something bad would happen if this balance was broken. Although Luo Yun did not know what would happen, he still felt worried. However, Marshal Uncle Qingyan was stubborn, and the other elders were eager to try. Even if Luo Yun wanted to, he could not. Over the past 2 odd years, the Azure Smoke sect had continuously grown stronger, showing a flourishing momentum. This further dispelled Luo Yun's worries. Unexpectedly, the thing he worried about the most happened. This sigh contained some helplessness. Luo Yun was limited by his knowledge and vision. He could guess something, but he did not know what was going on. This was the helplessness he felt the most. The 5 super factions secretly controlled the entire Great Thousand Realms. Without reaching a certain level, one would not know about this. Even many sovereign personages in the Central Great Realm did not know about the Heavenly Alliance. How much could Luo Yun, a rank 5 sect master of the Ink Sea, know? Martial nephew, what are you worrying about? This sigh is very puzzling. Huh. Just at this moment, laughter rang out. Then, a skinny old man suddenly appeared in the ancestral hall. Although this old man was skinny, his frail body gave off a frightening energy that could not be underestimated, appearing unfathomable. Old ancestor, you finally came out of closed-door cultivation. We were all scared out of our wits last night. Indeed. Quickly, think of a solution. This person was the most famous person in the Ink Sea for the past 2 years, the Qingyan Shangren, whom nearly everyone knew. Luo Yun's eyes lit up. He felt that his martial uncle's strength had improved significantly, becoming even more unfathomable. He quickly stepped forward and said, "Martial uncle, please take a seat." Qingyan Shangren did not stand on ceremony. He sat down in the seat that Luo Yun vacated. As he looked at the heads below, he smiled sinisterly. This fellow is finally dead. Whoosh! Qingyan Shangren stretched out his hand, and the head of the 10 Cauldron Merchant Association's chief flew into his hand. Then there was a loud bang. Only a skull remained amid the azure smoke. Qingyan Shangren ferociously grabbed, and the skull turned into powder and fell to the ground. Everyone, including Luo Yun, showed startled expressions. This time, they were truly frightened. "Martial uncle," Luo Yun called out, feeling somewhat anxious. "This fellow is just a pawn that I placed in front of me. He will die sooner or later. It was worth it to be able to roam free for 2 years and suppress the 9 Calder Merchant Association." Qingyan Shangren waved his hand and said, "As for the rest, martial nephew, there is no need to worry. I already made arrangements. If he had come a year earlier, I might have been in some trouble. As for now, this old man is waiting for him. If he dares to come, I will make sure that he never returns. As you wish, I am here." Bang! Right after the old man spoke, the doors of the ancestral hall, which were reinforced by formations, shattered. A strong wind blew at the broken doors, and a dazzling light as bright as the sun appeared, so bright that no one could open their eyes. A figure slowly appeared from the light. This figure was dressed in white, and he strode in with his head held high. How young! When the Azure Smoke sect elders saw this person's appearance, they all sighed in their hearts, feeling somewhat shocked. This was the person that the old ancestor was waiting for. This was the mysterious person that scared their martial Uncle Jiang silly. Yi Weimian looked too young. Based on his appearance, he did not even look 50 years old. Naturally, the person who came was Xiao Chun. The head had been delivered to the Azure Smoke sect for 1 night, but the person he was waiting for had not arrived yet. Not wanting to waste time, Xiao Chun came himself. "I was wondering why the person did not arrive after 1 night. It turns out that you already condensed the divine vein. How admirable! How admirable! It is already not easy for you to advance to Sovereign Emperor in this desolate place. Now that you have condensed the divine vein, it is even more shocking." Xiao Chun glanced indifferently at the somewhat blind people. Then, he said softly, "Do you not understand what I said? Even in the Central Great Realm, this martial granduncle of yours can be considered a top character." These words were true. Even in the Central Great Realm, it was extremely difficult to advance to Sovereign Emperor. Old ancestor, you... Clearly, the Azure Smoke sect's elders did not know how strong Qingyan Shangren was, or where he ranked in the Central Great Realm. Qingyan Shangren revealed a cocky expression, gladly accepting Xiao Chen's praise. Being able to advance to Sovereign Emperor in this Ink Sea already boosted Qingyan Shangren's ambition, filling him with pride. This was the so-called instant success. However, that is all. In the end, the accumulations in the Ink Sea are lacking. Forcefully plundering the Ink Sea's resources to condense a divine vein is even more foolish. You probably do not even have a divine vein level cultivation technique to cultivate. Such a sovereign emperor would not be able to cause much trouble in the Central Great Realm. No wonder you only know how to put on airs in this Ink Sea. Who could have imagined that Xiao Chun would suddenly change the topic, belittling Qingyan Shangren as worthless? Qingyan Shangren was already extremely proud of advancing to sovereign emperor. He even felt that the sovereign emperors of the Central Great Realm would not be much stronger than him. Earlier, Qingyan Shangren enjoyed Xiao Chen's words. So, he prepared to negotiate with Xiao Chun about the Nine Calder Merchant Association. Who could have imagined that Xiao Chen's words would suddenly change the topic, deeply stabbing at Qingyan Shangren's pride? Rage flared up in his heart. The atmosphere in the hall immediately turned strange. The Azure Smoke sect's elders were frightened into silence. Everyone could tell that this youth had touched on the old ancestors' reverse scale. An icy chill spread in the hall. Qingyan Shangren showed a sullen expression, his skinny face filled with murderous intent. A great battle would start at any moment. Chapter 2184. The atmosphere in the ancestral hall turned strange. No one dared to speak. The group of elders, including Luo Yun, felt increasingly unbearable. The hall was so quiet that one could hear their breathing and heartbeats. Despite this unbearable feeling, they did not dare to move. It was like they feared breaking some sort of balance. Normally, these sovereign personages could call the wind and summon the rain in this Ink Sea cluster, supreme existences. Even though sovereign emperors appeared, sovereign personages were still incredibly rare in this Ink Sea cluster. Wherever they went, they were aloof and aloof. When had these sovereign emperors ever felt so unbearable? To put it bluntly, they did not even dare to let out a fart. The battle between Xiao Chun and Qingyan Shangren had already started. The two's auras clashed, their auras spreading to every corner of the hall. Both were storing up power in secret, searching for the other's openings, trying to suppress the other's aura. The invisible auras were already incredibly intense. Everyone here was a sovereign personage and naturally understood the profoundness of this. At this moment, if anyone dared to move, it would be like adding oil to the fire. Bang! Everything would explode. It was like time stopped in the hall. No one moved at all. Their expressions did not even change. Qingyan Shangren felt somewhat shocked. Although this youth before him had not opened any divine veins, his aura moved according to his heart. However, his aura moved according to his will, moving as he pleased. There were no openings at all. It could be said to be perfect. Dragon images seemed to appear behind Xiao Chun, howling and roaring ferociously. That was dragon might. This was a powerful, outstanding talent with a great desolate Ian bloodline. Kassier. Just at this moment, one of the Azure Smoke Hall elders felt somewhat unbearable, so he shifted his body slightly. However, the sound amplified infinitely at this moment. It was like a drop of water falling into a calm lake. However, it did not kick up ripples. Instead, it kicked up a deafening wave like a tsunami. Luo Yun's face sank. Knowing that things were bad, the group of elders executed their movement techniques and quickly moved far away. In that instant, the limit of stillness shifted to the limit of movement. It was like these people came back to life. The elders already moved very fast. However, they were not faster than Xiao Chun and Qingyan Shangren. The incorporeal dragon image behind Xiao Chun gathered together, turning from incorporeal to corporeal, turning into a huge azure dragon image that roared furiously into the nine heavens. Qingyan Shangren's expression turned cold as he slapped the armrest heavily. He mobilized all the accumulations of the entire Qingyun Peak sect. The illusion of a huge incense burner appeared in front of him. There were 3 incense sticks in the incense burner, and green smoke curled around them. Qingyan Shangren flicked his finger, and the lingering azure smoke immediately turned into thousands of sword images that shot out. The two auras collided in an instant. With a loud bang, the green smoke ancestral hall collapsed into nothingness. Pucci. Luo Yun and the other elders of the Azure Smoke all spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. The weaker elders, who were only at the Holy Venerate realm, even died on the spot from the shockwaves of the two auras. Not only did Luo Yun and the others not have the qualifications to interfere in this battle, but they might even lose their lives if they were careless. When sovereign emperors fought, the scale of the battle was already beyond what these sovereign personages could imagine or resist. Dang! The melodious sound of weapons clashing rang out, echoing throughout the entire heavenly cloud mountain. This blessed land, which was as large as a great realm, buzzed endlessly and trembled. The heavenly cloud mountain was very large and vast. It was at least 100 million kilometers long. In the past, dozens of rank 4 sects lived in this place. One could easily imagine how vast it was. However, this heavenly cloud mountain was also very small. To Xiao Chun and Qingyan Shangren, who were fighting, just the shockwaves could cover most of heavenly cloud mountain. Whoosh! A purple figure retreated from heavenly cloud mountain's main peak. As he retreated, he crashed into many peaks, kicking up huge waves in the seawater. Xiao Chun was not retreating alone. Instead, he was retreating with his aura. He did not crash into the tall peaks. Instead, his aura crushed them, turning them into surging tsunamis along with the seawater. Humph! How dare you disrespect me on Heavenly Cloud Mountain? Not to mention the fact that you have not opened a divine vein. Even if you did, you would not be a match for me. Qingyan Shangren stood proudly on the mountain summit. At this moment, his slender body seemed to contain boundless might, inspiring others to look up at him like looking at the sky. A strong wind blew as Qingyan Shangren looked coldly at Xiao Chun, who got knocked back. Then, he said sullenly, "You have a great background. I will not kill you. I will use you as a bargaining chip. My Azure Smoke Pavilion will dominate the Ink Sea, and we will not have to worry about anything in the future." Old Ancestor. When the many Azure Smoke Pavilion disciples saw Qingyan Shangren's majestic appearance and bold words, they felt their hot-bloodedness surge endlessly. Whoosh! Xiao Chun gently pushed off the surface of the sea, stopping his retreating figure. At the same time, the surging mountain-like seawater slowly fell back. However, the way it fell was incredibly gentle, following Xiao Chen's aura and spreading out again. What was even more miraculous was that the tall mountain that Xiao Chun crushed earlier actually retreated together with the seawater. It looked like time and space had reversed. In reality, it was just reuniting with Xiao Chen's aura. The mountain had already shattered. The mountain that Xiao Chun saw was only the mountain that existed in Xiao Chen's aura. It was like a painting. When Xiao Chun retreated, the white clouds, mountains, rivers, and sunlight had already entered the painting. Now, the painting was just reuniting. Xiao Chun looked at Qingyan Shangren, who stood proudly on the main peak like he was the sovereign of the world. However, Xiao Chun was not surprised at the other party's strength. A sovereign emperor's accumulations would not be child's play when a rank 5 sect erupted. However, since Xiao Chun dared to come, he had to have considered the other party's geographical advantage. You are courageous. After seeing my Azure Smoke Pavilion's accumulations, you still dare to not flee. Youths are like this, not fearing anything, thinking that they are fated. Today, I will teach you a lesson and show you what fear is. Qingyan Shangren smiled coldly. Then, he casually waved his hand, and the azure smoke lingering around the incense burner circled around his fingertip. At the instant his thumb and index finger came into contact with each other, countless sword cries resounded. They were loud and clear, and they seemed to descend from the heavens and descend from the netherworld. Since the establishment of the Azure Smoke Pavilion, the many disciples have been using their swords to visualize the incense burner every day. They used their bodies as swords to worship the incense burner, accumulating accumulations for 100 years, 1,000 years, countless days and nights. Qingyan Shangren flicked his finger, and thousands of sword hums gathered. This sword hum pierced through the entire blessed land from north to south. Stimulated by this sword hum, Heavenly Cloud Mountain's 300-kilometer tall main peak erupted with resplendent light, looking like a sharp sword illuminating the entire blessed land. Aside from the strand of sword light that Qingyan Shangren flicked out for 50 million kilometers, only black and white remained in the world. The sword light illuminated Xiao Chen's eyes, making his handsome facial features look even more distinct. The sword wind scattered Xiao Chen's long hair, making him appear even more unruly and unruly. The sword light, which carried the sex accumulations, looked like it could split the world apart. Then, it instantly charged over. Everyone in the Azure Smoke Pavilion gasped in amazement at this sword strike. They had only heard of the sect's founding ancestor in the legends, having once flicked out such a strand of sword chi. Now they saw it with their own eyes. It was like the legends unfolded before them. The shock was indescribable. Everyone thought that Xiao Chan would die for sure under this sword strike. Even if he did not die, he would be severely injured, unable to fight anymore. Xiao Chan showed a grave expression, but he did not fluster in the face of danger. The yin and yang divine essence seized in his body silently merged, and the Taiji force field spread out. Whoosh! The instant the Taiji force field appeared, a light burst out from Xiao Chen's body in the originally black and white world. The entire world regained its color. This was Xiao Chen using his own strength to suppress the other party with his aura, breaking the momentum of this sword strike. However, Xiao Chen did not dare to receive this sword strike head-on. This sword strike carried the accumulations of a sect that had accumulated for thousands of years. If he tried to receive it, it would be like an ant trying to shake a tree, overestimating himself. Not to mention whether he could receive it or not. He would be too stupid to do so. After the sword chi entered the Taiji force field, it looked like it could travel through space and time. However, to Xiao Chen, it slowed significantly. Whoosh! Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet and gently moved, looking like he had dodged this sword strike by a fluke. When the sword chi entered the sea, it was like a stream flowing into the sea, silently vanishing. This was because the charm contained in the sword chi had automatically dissipated after losing its target, and the sect's foundation had returned to the mountains and rivers. He dodged it. This startled Qingyan Shangren. To think that Xiao Chen managed to dodge his sure-hit sword strike. He could not help saying angrily, "Let's see how many sword strikes you can dodge." Qingyan Shangren flicked his finger, and another strand of sword chi that seemed to travel through space and time charged at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. He drove the primal chaos divine energy in his body to the limits and used the Taiji force field to carefully slow down Qingyan Shangren's speed, narrowly dodging again. Whoosh! 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 Damn it! I don't believe that I cannot kill you. Qingyan Shangren felt somewhat flustered and exasperated after failing to hit his target. He flicked his finger, and strands of sword intent shot at Xiao Chen without end. Day and night immediately sped up in the blessed land. Sometimes, only black and white remained. Another moment, the colors returned to normal. It was like the rising and setting of the sun were sped up. The Azure Smoke sect disciples were horrified to discover that as day and night sped up, their faces aged. Their fine black hair turned white. It was like time sped up several times. Let's see how long you can last. Under the berserk attacks, Xiao Chen appeared somewhat unable to hold out. Qingyan Shangren could not help laughing cockily, just as he was about to make another move. Enough! Xiao Chen, who had been silent all this while, suddenly shouted. This shout was like a clap of thunder, immediately kicking up countless huge waves on the vast sea. You are really vicious. Draining the sex accumulations like this, completely disregarding the life and death of the disciples. I have a saber strike. Please give it a try. Gurgle. An unremarkable drop of seawater soared into the air amid the huge waves. Xiao Chen moved like a swallow, looking like he was about to fly, but not soar. Then he flicked his finger. Fiendish saber inheritance, water droplet shaking the firmament. Chapter 2185. A drop of water could break the vault of heaven. Qingyan Shangren used his one vein, sovereign emperor cultivation, to drive the sect's thousand-year-old accumulations. He used the 30-kilometer-tall peak under his feet as a sword, and hundreds of strands of sword qi could cause the mountains, rivers, sun, and moon to pale in comparison. Xiao Chun would be defeated with just one strike. Xiao Chun, who could drive Taiji with primal chaos divine energy, finally recovered. Xiao Chen's counterattack was as insignificant as a speck of dust in front of the sword qi of mountains and rivers. What he flicked out was a drop of water, a drop of rain, a drop of sweat that contained the inheritance of the Devil Blade. The scorching sun had tortured it for 3,333 years. The gale had battered it for 3,333 years, and the lightning had struck it for 3,333 years. Over the past 9,999 years, the thunderstorm, the gale, and the scorching sun could not change his heart. What is a demon? Lonely as I am, 10,000 years of time, hanging high in the nine heavens. I exist alone. What is a demon? Just like me, I am so proud that even the heavens cannot tolerate my heart. This was the second move of the fiendish saber inheritance, using the state of water droplets to break the sky. This drop of water was so tiny that if one did not look carefully, they would not even notice it. But once one discovered it, they would never be able to forget it. It was so ordinary, yet so special. It was a demon. It's a drop of water. He flicked a drop of water. What is he trying to do? It's clearly just a drop of water, so why do I feel like I'm shivering and my legs aren't listening to me? Damn it, what's going on? Damn it, what the hell happened? Initially, when he saw this drop of water, he didn't think much of it. But soon, he found himself unable to shift his gaze away from it, and his legs wouldn't listen to him. How strange and bewitching. Qingyan Shangren was somewhat dumbfounded. This raindrop that Xiao Chun flicked out completely surpassed his common sense. Although Xiao Chun was not a sovereign emperor, his knowledge was limited. He had never heard of the fiendish saber's name or seen such a martial technique. He knew that this raindrop was extraordinary, but he couldn't think of a way to deal with it. Not just for a moment, but with his experience, even if he racked his brains, he still wouldn't be able to think of a way to deal with it. If they had the advantage of the terrain, it would have been impossible for them to suppress Xiao Chun before by consuming the foundation that the sect's disciples have been accumulating for thousands of years. I don't believe that a mere drop of water can overturn the heavens. Qingyan Shangren shouted coldly. Then he waved his hand at the 3 incense sticks in the incense burner and wiped them gently. The little accumulations that the sect had accumulated were immediately drained. Using the sect's accumulations, Xiao Chun activated the sect protecting formation. Instantly, sword lights covered the main peak of Heavenly Cloud Mountain as the sect's formation activated. Then, the lights surged, and the nearby mountains and rivers seemed to come to life as if a long sword had come to life. In an instant, thousands of mountains became one. Is it useful? Xiao Chen's face was expressionless and cold, without the slightest hint of emotion. That drop of rain appeared in the eyes of the Azure Smoke Sect disciples. It got closer and closer, silently piercing through the tall mountains and breaking through layers of sword veils, heading for a lake in the middle of the sect. He watched as the droplet of rain pierced through the mountain and tore through the sword veil, but nothing happened. Seeing this scene, Qingyan Shangren could not help but laugh. "You're just bluffing. You nearly drip?" Before Qingyan Shangren could finish speaking, that droplet of rain landed on the lake. With a loud boom, the entire blessed land, not just the Azure Smoke Sect's 1,000-layered mountain gate, exploded with a loud bang. "No!" Qingyan Shangren showed a horrified expression as he screamed at the top of his lungs. The foundations of the Azure Smoke Sect, which had been around for thousands of years, vanished before his eyes, completely destroyed. After that, the wind blew continuously. Layers of seawater exploded, and spirit springs spewed out everywhere. 7-colored lights scattered like fireworks. That was the top-grade spirit vein that sustained the blessed enclave. It had also been destroyed. Everything that he could see had been destroyed. However, he could only watch helplessly as the saber intent that erupted from that droplet of rain brought a calamity of destruction. One droplet of rain could destroy the sky. If the droplet of rain in that painting truly appeared, it might be able to sweep through the entire ink sea and destroy everything. Such a killing move already surpassed the norm of the mortal world. It could only be described as demonic. Xiao Chun stood upright with his hands behind his back as he slowly approached. With every step he took, the dilapidated mountains and rivers recovered. It was like time flowed in reverse. By the time Xiao Chun arrived before Qingyan Shangren, the entire blessed land had recovered to its original state. You, how ruthless! Even if I was in the wrong, you could have just killed me alone. However, what crime did the tens of thousands of my Azure Smoke sect disciples commit? To think that you slaughtered them all. You destroyed the foundation of my sect for thousands of years. Qingyan Shangren felt extreme grief, looking haggard. The killing intent that erupted from that droplet of rain landed on him. That inferior Great Soul Tool incense burner had already shattered. Qingyan Shangren looked haggard, in an extremely sorry state. Xiaochen said calmly, I did not kill them. Old ancestor. Many figures descended from the sky, with confused expressions, clearly at a loss as to what to do. In fact, they did not even know what was happening. Xiao Chun purposely controlled that droplet of rain. Most of the saber intent landed on the Azure Smoke Sect's formations and Qingyan Shangren. The moment the saber intent erupted, the others got knocked back. When they landed, they saw this scene. These people did not even know that their sects were already destroyed and that the entire blessed land was gone, as everything had happened too quickly. You all, Qingyan Shangren looked over. These sect disciples all had white hair and faint wrinkles on their faces. They looked like they had aged many years. Qingyan Shangren could not continue. Previously, he only cared about defeating Xiao Chun, squandering the sect's accumulations and overdrawing on the vitality of these sect disciples. Otherwise, given his foundation in the ink sea, even if he condensed the divine vein, he would not be able to gain any advantage against Xiao Chun. He would not be able to gain any advantage against Xiao Chun. He would reveal an opening with one strike, not to mention suppressing Xiao Chun. Old ancestor, are you all right? The sect disciples did not understand the reason behind this. Instead, they started worrying about Qingyan Shangren's injuries. Only Luo Yun and the other sovereign personages knew what was going on. However, they did not know what to say. They glanced at Xiao Chun, who was watching coldly from the side, their hearts filled with fear and nervousness. Clang! Just as the sect disciples were worrying about Qingyan Shangren's injuries, they suddenly heard a melodious saber hum. A saber light flashed, looking like a short-lived, piercing and dazzling. What are you trying to do? If you dare to injure old ancestor, we will fight you to the death. After Qingyan Shangren became a sovereign emperor, he was like a god to the Azure Smoke Sect disciples. This was especially so in the past 2 years, when he led the Azure Smoke Sect to dominate a region. All the sect disciples worshipped him, holding him in high esteem. Seeing Xiao Chun draw his saber, the group of sect disciples all panicked, blocking Qingyan Shangren. Move aside. Qingyan Shangren knew Xiao Chun's strength. Before Xiao Chun, these people were like paper, not threatening at all. We are not leaving. I told you to move aside. Qingyan Shangren shouted angrily, shaking off all the disciples. Immediately, they were tossed out like sandbags. Holding the tyrant saber, Xiao Chun approached step by step. When he arrived before Qingyan Shangren, he swung his saber. Luo Yun and the other sect masters immediately felt their hearts in their throats, feeling immense pressure. Senior, if you have any requests, just state them. Our Azure Smoke Sect will definitely do as you say. Is it because of the 9 Cauldron Pavilion? We can hand over all the benefits we gained in the past 2 years. You just need to say the word, and we can spare Marshal Uncle's life. In the end, Luo Yun could not bear to do this. He mustered up his courage and spoke in a trembling voice. This major character, who dominated a region and swept through the ink sea, now trembled in fear, filled with helplessness. Xiao Chun ignored Luo Yun. He only looked at Qingyan Shangren and said, "It is not easy to become a sovereign emperor in the Ink Sea. This is your opportunity. However, you should not be afraid. So what if you are from the Ink Sea? You managed to become a sovereign emperor in this insignificant Ink Sea. So what if you go to the Central Great Realm? The path of a cultivator should be fearless. Even if you suffer all sorts of hardships, it is fine as long as you keep moving forward. However, you remain stubborn, only wanting to dominate this Ink Sea, suppressing the other sects and squeezing out the resources of the entire Ink Sea. Heavenly Alliance's Xiao Chun. Today, I will chop off one of your arms as punishment for bullying the Nine Cauldron Pavilion. Behave yourself in the future." As a saber light descended, Xiao Chun sheathed his saber. Qingyan Shangren cried out miserably as his right arm was chopped off. Remnant saber intent lingered in the wound. This saber intent would remain for a long time. Even a sovereign emperor would not be able to recover from it. Xiao Chun did not kill Qingyan Shangren because he wanted to maintain the balance in the Ink Sea. He was also doing this out of consideration for the Azure Smoke sect disciples. If Qingyan Shangren died, the sects that he suppressed for the past 2 years would definitely kill all these disciples, not leaving a single one alive to vent their hatred. The more important reason was to maintain the balance, to give the various factions of the Ink Sea time to catch a breather. Even if a sovereign emperor lost an arm, he would still be much stronger than a regular false emperor. However, he would still be incomparable to when he was at his peak. Furthermore, with the destruction of the Azure Smoke sect, the Azure Smoke sect could only rest and recuperate for a long time. In the future, when the Azure Smoke sect rose up, it would fear the Nine Cauldron Pavilion and not dare to bargain. Only then would the Azure Smoke sect be in line with the Heavenly Alliance's interests. Only then would the mission come to a perfect conclusion. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed. Then, he turned into a flash of purple light and vanished. Boom! When Xiao Chen left, the aura around him scattered. The entire blessed land shattered like a painting, returning to its original state. The sect is gone. This scene stupefied those disciples, all of them gaping and at a loss for what to do. However, Sect Master Luo Yun and the group of Elder Wang knew about this long ago. The moment they were sent flying, the entire mountain gate, no, the entire blessed enclave was gone. When the aura was gone, everything turned to dust. The feeling of helplessness made one sad, but one could not do anything about it. If possible, one might as well live in the painting, living in the aura that Xiao Chun gathered. At the very least, the sect still existed. Even if one knew that it was fake, it was better than being in rubble. This made one feel despair and heartache. For the past few years, I monopolized the Ink Sea. I was really living in a dream. After I woke up from this dream, I realized that this Ink Sea was never my Ink Sea. Luo Yun smiled bitterly and sighed softly, appearing haggard.